The Indianapolis Motor Speedway. To most people, it is but another racetrack, but to some, it is so much more. Men like Unser, Mears, Foyt, Andretti. Men who through their racing accomplishments became greats, but from their success at Indy became legends. Of the 3 million paving blocks that made up the speedway in 1911, only a yard of bricks remain. The 2.5-mile path is surrounded by concrete and steel, silent sentries to the history made here. It is a legacy of speed. The quickest times are found just inches from the walls. It is there that the bold must ride. Between these walls, the risk is great. At 230 miles an hour, decisions must be made quicker than the blink of an eye. Choose poorly, and the consequences are swift and unforgiving. Danger has always been a passenger. Like the track and the speed, it is a constant. But men can and do survive the machine. Ever present, too, is the part of the lore. The legacy of the extraordinary men and women who have come before to challenge the speedway. Every year, these warriors come looking to become a part of the history. Some are young, brash, aggressive. They come from a background in midgets and sprint cars with a long family racing legacy. Others come from across the sea, mature, studied, driven, with many victories to their credit. Different men, from vastly different backgrounds focused on the same goal. A white line painted on a yard of bricks, 400 miles ahead. The yard of bricks has witnessed the high-speed passage of history. In just a few hours, a new name will be added to those pages. 43 men will battle, but only one will raise the brick trophy. The 16th Street League Indy 400 begins now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we welcome you live to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400. Alongside myself, Will Vincent, in the booth for this race is Aaron Likens, Paul Jenkins, and Jeremy Lakoska. And Paul, I'm going to come to you first, of course. This is Indy. We're here. It's all set, and this is going to be truly a great race.
Been waiting all year for this one, Will. This is going to be great. The competition is extremely close. If the qualifying has anything to do with the racing, we're going to be in for a very, very exciting day.
And we'll go straight to qualifying, of course. Mitchell Kraken will be starting this race from the pole position, winning the Ultra 4 Sim Pole Award yet again. And, Aaron, we have a look at the qualifying times, and from 1st to 42nd, it is the tightest qualifying we've ever had for a big race, Indianapolis race, and really the field have really stepped up for this one.
That they have, Will, and I'm expecting, as Paul said, I've been waiting all season for this race. Take points, throw them out the window. Nobody tonight's going to be racing about points. This whole race, you want to finish this race first. If you win this race, whatever else happens else in the season doesn't really matter. This is the race that everybody that is participating tonight, this is it tonight. This is going to be great.
And in our pre-race show, we're going to run through a couple of the drivers who we think are going to be contenders in the 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400. First of all, we have to come to our pole sitter, Mitch McCracken. And in the last year at Indianapolis, he really has been one of the best qualifiers. We saw it in the month of May in the iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. He had good speed there as well. Today, can he take it all the way to Victory Road?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. Mitch is a very aggressive driver, and we don't have 33, we have 43 cars on this track. It is going to be crowded, and so if it goes any sort of green flag at all, we're going to be running into a lot of traffic. So the victor is going to be the one who can handle all of that traffic and still maintain his cool. We're going to see several pit stops today, obviously, and we know that, of course, Yang O is extremely good in pit stops. So Mitch has his work cut out for him if he's going to win, but he definitely does have the speed. He looks solid in his race trim, and I think certainly has a good shot at it, but there are a lot of cars behind him who are just as fast.
And we talk about those cars, and we cannot go any further, Aaron, without talking about the two iRacing.com Indianapolis 500 champions in the field, Tim Doyle and Yang O. And when you come to Indy, you can never discount those two drivers.
Most certainly, you can't count them out. They're going to be a force all race long. It's neat that Mitch McCracken got the pole. He also had the pole earlier in the season at Kentucky, which Young O did eventually pull off the win there. But Tim Doyle, he's going to be coming through. And one thing, the other races we've done this year, you know, strategy didn't really, you had one pit stop. Here, we could see multiple strategies, and Tim Doyle has used strategy in the past to work his way up. So, yeah, the two of them, they've done so many of these long distance races that we're going to, well, I'm just beside myself on just how much excitement we're going to see tonight.
And of course, Tim Doyle is the 2011 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500 champion. Young O, the 2012 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500 champion. Also winner of the ISOWC Indianapolis 500. And Paul, you've got those two drivers who, I remember back to 2011, it came down to the last lap. Young O trying to make that path work, coming out of turn number 4, and came so close. But really, when you come here, these two drivers, you've got to at least put them in the frame for a top 5 and never discount them for the win.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was saying before, we've got a lot of guys with really good speed, a lot of experience in the field. You do talk about, of course, our two champions, but there are a lot of guys who know what they're doing at this track, very, very fast. And it's going to be interesting to see what sort of strategy plays out here. And I really do think we're going to see some very close racing all the way to the end. I would not be surprised to see a very, very close finish in this race.
And as well, you have a look through the new blood in the field. You've got people like Brandon Trano, Ryan Norton, John Porsack, Brad Sanford. They also could be a factor. But Aaron, you also have the Indy specialists, people like Budweiser, and Bud races this track more than anywhere else, more than anyone else as well. And he's really got a good shot of taking I wouldn't say a shock victory, but sneaking one in there today.
Yeah, all season, it seems up front we've talked about 2-3 drivers, but yeah, definitely perhaps a dark horse of this race, and what a great victory that would be if Budweiser could pull this one off. But that's, as I mentioned at the start, this is the race people have waited all season for. Maybe some of the tracks drivers did maybe a couple hours of practice, but all year drivers are practicing for Indy, because for many of these drivers this is the only track and the only race that matters. So Budweiser could be up there, and many other drivers that maybe we haven't talked a lot about this season also could come out of nowhere, and you know, with 10 laps to go we're saying so-and-so's leading this race, where'd they come from?
And you've also got the Indiana club represented as well. People like Joe Branch, people like Nefri Hagen. Paul, remember the first race back in Homestead when Nefri took that emotional victory? He could still one here again today. And also Joe Branch has had so much bad luck. Is today the chance when he finally breaks that streak and gets himself into Victory Road here at Indianapolis?
Well, I certainly think Nefri has his work cut out for him. Not the fastest car on the track, but again, we know many, many times on the track, fastest guy isn't always the guy who finishes first. Nefri is a solid driver. He's clean. He's very good at picking his spots, and if he can just stay clean and just pick out the correct strategies, I really think he could do it. It would be a great victory. It would be such an amazing victory for Nefri if he pulled it off.
And you alluded to a very good point there. Some of these cars aren't going to be the fastest in raw speed. However, you have the draft. You can stay with people throughout the race and then try and make you move on the last couple of laps. You've also got strategy, which is going to be a key factor here today. This race is 400 miles, Aaron. That means that drivers throughout this race are going to be on different strategies, and we saw in this year's iRacing.com Indianapolis 500 just how important that can be. And you know, you've got to be on the right strategy at the right time.
Yeah, it doesn't seem, it seems whatever series, real life or iRacing, whatever runs at Indy, fuel mileage is always going to come down to the end, and this track can be extremely difficult to pass on. So if you can get your strategy right and sort of work this race backwards and be the first on pit road, and if you catch that lucky yellow, all of a sudden you're leading the race. So certainly that's something we're going to be watching all night long. Who pits when, who's on the right strategy, who can predict those late yellows, which hate to say it, but very good possibility we could have. So do you pit early and try to gamble? Boy, so many strategies. Can't wait.
And of course, in iRacing Indianapolis history, perhaps the unluckiest driver isn't in the field today, but it's Monica Clara Brand in the 2011 Indianapolis 500 on iRacing, when a caution came out at the wrong time for her. She ran out of fuel, had to come down pit road while pit road was closed, got herself a black flag, and that threw her completely out of contention. And Paul, you've always got to make that allowance as well. Just having enough fuel in the tank, just in case a caution comes out when you're about to come down pit road.
Seems to happen a lot here at Indy. You push it to the last possible moment, you're going to pit the next lap, you've got only maybe a gallon, maybe less than a gallon in the tank, you come around turn 3 and boom, yellow flag, and you can't come in. And it's just, these are the things you have to think about. Do you push it to the edge? Do you hope you make it? Do you stop with a little bit of contingency? And you know, again, pit strategy in this place is going to be very important. Getting in and out. As you can see, well, I'm watching Nefriog now. Just to exit the pit, you got to stay down tight below the white line, around that flat corner there. You push it a little too hard, you're going to spin. You know, it's a fine line. So exiting the pits are going to be very, very important here. But with the speed of these cars and how closely they are matched, it's going to be very difficult to affect passing. And I think pits are going to play really into this race today.
And sorry, we've got ourselves about 5 minutes before we go trackside. But just two very important things to talk about. We have strategy. We'll come into that in a moment. But of course, these drivers first of all have to get themselves through the famous 3-wide start. Anyone who's watched the race on TV from Indianapolis will know just how beautiful that is to see those cars flying down in rows of 3 coming to the start-finish line. But Aaron, Paul, you've both been involved in situations like that, and A, it's scary, and B, one wrong move and it could end up in disaster.
It can get very crowded with the 3-wide start. Now, the key to success with the 3-wide start is everybody has to be respectful. You know, you're 3 wide on the front stretch, but everyone knows you cannot fit 3 cars into the turn 1, barely fitting 2 cars in turn 1, especially on cold tires. So these guys are going to be thinking about when they're coming around the pace laps, where am I going to slot in? Where can I go? Who's going to do what? But they have to have it sorted out in the couple of thousand feet between the time they mash the gas out of 4 and the time they hit turn 1, or there's going to be some serious trouble.
And Aaron, that entire first lap as well, it's important.
Certainly. These drivers know it's 400 miles, and they've waited all season for this. No driver wants to be the driver that causes the wreck on lap 1. I think we're going to see a very, very subdued turn 1. Lap 2, that's when we'll be racing. That might be another issue, but I'm expecting a good clean start tonight to start this race.
And of course, you talk about lap 1 incidents. Perhaps one of the most famous names in IndyCar history here on iRacing, John Paquin, had issues for 2 years in a row on lap number 1. And Paul, that does show even the best can get caught up early on.
Absolutely. We've seen some very, very experienced drivers get into trouble in the first lap. You just never know. And the way these cars are set up, these guys have these cars set up right out to the edge, and there's not a lot of room for any sort of error on the first couple of laps when those tires are cold, and you're not completely at race speed. You know, of course, these cars handle much better at race speed. But if you're down 10, 15, 20 miles an hour slower, the car can become evil on you, and that could be a very big issue going into turn 1 when you're not at race speed.
Indeed, yeah, and a number of these drivers, all of these drivers will have tools in their car which they have at their disposal. They'll all have the weight checker, and of course they'll have the anti-roll bars front and rear, which they can use to kind of tune that balance. And I've seen a lot of drivers these past couple of days literally testing starts and restarts I mean, who can forget Nigel Mansell, for example, in the 1993 Indianapolis 500? Many say the only reason why he didn't win that race is because of his inexperience on starts and restarts, and it shows just how important that is. Coming to probably the second most important part of this track, pit road, getting in and getting out. First of all, you've got to slow that car down from 225 plus miles an hour, and then secondly, you've also got the issue on the way out, Paul, of that horrible bump just as you're starting to put the power down.
Yeah, you mentioned, I forgot about that. That right as you come across, right into that the warm-up lane on the inside, there is a vicious bump right there, and you pretty much have to get off the gas to roll over it. But I mean, if you're flooring it trying to get out of there, you hit that bump, you're going to find yourself facing the wrong direction really fast.
And Aaron, getting onto pit road as well, slowing that car all the way down to 55 miles an hour, especially that last 20 miles an hour as well, and all of a sudden that car wants to perhaps snap to the right hand side into the attenuator or wants to spin out on you. With a lot of cars around you, that is going to be a critical part of the race if you're pitting under green.
Most certainly will. It's going to be, the drivers are going to have to let the drivers behind them know that they're ducking in, and yeah, that final 20 feet, that car wants to shoot left or shoot right, and at the same time though, these drivers are going to be pushing it. If we have long green flag runs and you're stuck behind another driver and just can't get around, you're going to pass them in the pits, and if you can get in and out 1 second faster, that's going to be a football field difference. Just 1 second is 100 yards. So if we do have a couple green flag pit stops, I'm sure a couple drivers are going to push just a little bit too much and either crack the wall or get one of those unfortunate black flags.
We've got ourselves about 4 minutes before this car start running out onto the grid. And meanwhile, we're going to hand it down to trackside with the Purdue University Marching Band performing the American National Anthem. We'll be right back. The Purdue University All Marching Band there performing the American National Anthem here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Pre-race festivities underway. We have got ourselves 43 cars looking to do battle here on this 2.5 mile racetrack for 160 laps, 400 miles. I'm going to hand it straight back trackside for Jim Neighbors performing back home again in Indiana.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon hay sends all its fragrance about the moonlight on the Wabash. How I long for my Indiana
Jim Naples there, we're back home again in Indiana. The command to start engines has been given. The cars rolling their way onto the racetrack. And you see there the honorary pace car driver for this race, Scott Manifold, in the 99 National Guard iRacing.com Pontiac Solstice. He'll be bringing the field to the green flag here today. And when we consider this grid, guys, it really is going to be a great race. You've got Mitch McCracken, Young-O and Brandon Traino starting on row number 1. And right there, you've got 3 drivers, all with a great chance for taking the victory here today.
Mitch McCracken on the point, but who knows who's going to be in first in turn 1. We know that all 3 of those drivers are very aggressive. It's going to be interesting to see the row 1 sort out, much less the rest of the field.
Row number 2, you've got yourselves Tim Doyle, Ryan Norton and Chris Capo. Once again, Aaron, 3 drivers who have a chance of at least getting a top 5, perhaps going for victory here today as well. And also 3 different teams represented in both row number 1 and row number 2.
Yeah, for Doyle, Norton, and Cahoe in row 2, any of those drivers can win this race. So between the first 6 drivers, any one of those drivers could be the driver in victory lane. Of course, McCracken is starting on the pole. He'll have the advantage off the start, but you can't count out Doyle, Norton, or Cahoe. Any of them can win. So from those first 2 rows, even money on who can win this race.
Row number 3 is going to be Tim Holgate, Ricky Adatalo and Martin Miller. And then row 4, Nefriag, John Porzak and Alexi Aloma. Row number 5 will be Michael DeTemple, Andrew King and Kerry Battenhausen. And then row number 6 is Randy Freeman, Doug Leroy and Dave Judson. Row number 7, Carlos Bolanis Jr., Brad Sanford and Buzz Whitehart. Row number 8, Dave Jinks, Brandon Lichtenberg and Sam Bonzett. Row number 9 will be Mark Shute, Michael Chin and Michael Peters. Row 10, Matthew Lamberton, David Ward and Courtney Terrell. Row number 11, Jason Dunphy, Al Nagy and Terry Matinson. Row number 12, Kevin Chris, Joe Bryant and Giorgio Ponte. Row number 13, Gary Borgenhagen, Brian Stevens and David Sockrider. And then you've got yourself Chuck Eisenberg, Ryan Simpson and Tim Miller and Martin Plowman, one of our celebrity drivers for this race, rounding out the field. And a couple of these drivers didn't have good qualifying, Paul. People like David Ward, for example, actually set himself the 10th fastest time overall in qualifying, but due to the fact he didn't manage that until bump day, means that 69 car started him all the way down in the 30th position for this race.
Yeah, it's a function of bump day. You can be the fast can be the fast guy on the track, but if you don't pull it off on the first weekend, you'll find yourself mired away in the field. A couple of drivers back there. David Ward, Al Nagy, of course. So you're looking down the line. Joe Branch, of course, and Terry Matthieson.
Yeah, all drivers. Go on.
I'm sorry, yeah, all very fast drivers that are kind of mired back in traffic now. They're going to have to be very very careful with their decision making. Starting off.
You see there that Scott Manifold in the iRacing.com National Guard Pontiac Solstice is currently pacing the field as they're lining up 3 wide. We're going to bring Jeremy Koska at this point, and when you look at Indy, this is perhaps one of the most beautiful sights, not only in IndyCar racing, but in all of motorsports, as these cars now start to funnel 3 wide around the racetrack.
Yeah, it really is. You know, you got these cars going at speeds in excess of 230 miles an hour, 240 going down to turn 1. Super tight turns, 3 wide start, doesn't get any better than Indy.
And Aaron, you've always said safety for the first couple of laps. These cars, you know, they're getting themselves some nice even rows in. That's what you're going to need. Just in case someone, you know, doesn't get on the power as early as everyone else, that gap is going to be crucial between these cars right now.
Yeah, race control has stated they do want about 3/10 between the rows or a little bit more. Safety has been preached, safety has been focused on. Will we see it when the flag drops? Let's hope so. It could be very easy if somebody doesn't go and the row behind them does. Boy, yeah, there's not much room, and everybody knows that front straightaway. Yeah, going too wide down the straightaway, you need to give room. We're starting 3 wide, a little bit of an error by anybody. Well, in the real Indy 500, we've seen some disasters on the start. Let's hope these drivers keep it straight and make it through turn 1.
And we're going to go green racing in about 2 minutes time. And this gives me a chance very quickly, one at a time, starting with you, Aaron. Who's going to go to Victory Road?
Oh, talk about putting me on the spot. Boy, it's a toss-up between McCracken and but I'm going to say it's going to be McCracken. He's had the speed all season. He's had slight errors at each race, just hasn't been able to seal the deal, but I'm going to say tonight is his night.
Paul?
I believe Yango will do it. It's going to be a bit more of a fight than he's used to, but we've always, there's one constant that we've seen this year from Yango, and that is consistency and speed. I guess that's 2 things. But he is extremely fast here, and he's going to be the man to beat.
Jeremy?
I'm going to go with Tim Doyle. Starts in the 4th position inside of row 2. IndyCar expert, one of the fan favorites, and I'd expect him to be taking the lead in the first 5 or 10 laps we'll go with.
I am going to put it down to a last lap battle once again between Youngo and Tim Doyle. Who's going to come out on top? This time, I think it's going to be Tim Doyle. That 11 car has unfinished business from the month of May. He's going to want to get himself back down to Victory Road. And also, guys, don't forget that these guys are racing not only for glory today, but also some points, and also for a custom-made $1,100 valued trophy, complete with a replica brick, without a real brick, from the original Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most prestigious race of the 16th Street Racing League calendar for 2012/2013. Scott Manafort now beginning to pick up the pace in the 99 National Guard Pontiac Solstice, working his way through turn number 4. In the meanwhile, you've got yourself row number 1, Mitch McCracken, Young O and Brian Trainer about now to bring up the pace as they work their way through turn number 4. Perhaps the greatest spectacle in all of IndyCar racing about to get underway. This 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400 is green, and the cars are ready, swarming away down to turn number 1. They've all got themselves sorted out in the first couple of rows. Let's have a look back at everyone, thankfully, looking as though they're separated as they work their way down into turn number 1.
Yeah,
that front row did a good job of getting single file, and it looks like we are clean through turn 1.
Yeah, all of the cars, looking as though they've got through the first couple of corners okay, and that is exactly what all of these guys would have wanted. Working away down the back straightaway for the first time, heading down into turn number 3. It is still Mitch McCracken, your race leader, Young O in 2nd, Brandon Trainer in 3rd, Ryan Norton is in the 5th position, looking to put a lot of pressure on Tim Doyle to come out at turn number 4 for the first time. But, Paul, what a great start by these drivers.
An excellent start, very clean, exactly what we were looking for. These guys are definitely very respectful. A lot of experience here. One thing to note, Matthew Lambertson on the move from 25th now into 15th. Actually, I need to double check that, but he did make a good pass here.
Yeah, as we're working away now on lap number 2. And Jeremy, all of these guys get away cleanly. Now you get into the game. You've still got yourselves 157.5 laps of racing to go. And these guys are really just not wanting to put it into the wall early on.
That's right, Will. This is the toughest part of the race for a driver. As I'm looking at this battle for the top 3 going on, they're right on each other's wings. But this is the toughest part of the race. You got all these cars in a huge, gnarly pack. Everyone's just trying to find their rhythm right now and just not make a mistake.
Working away now on lap number 3, and it is still Young O battling right behind Mitch McCracken in the battle for the race lead. They are so close as they're working away down the back straightaway into turn number 3 once again. Tim Doyle is only a car length and a half behind as they come out of turn number 4. But these cars really are separated by no more than a couple of car lengths. So you've got yourselves currently a 6-car breakaway. So that means you've got yourself Mitchell Kraken, Young O, Brandon Traino, Tim Doyle, Ryan Norton and Chris Cahill pulling away. You've got Tim Holgate in the 7th position, just trying to catch these two guys up with Rico Taulo, I believe, has actually just lost the position as well in the process. But these top 6 drivers really closely separated, but no one, Paul, wanting to make the big move early on.
They're very content to run behind each other at this point, very close to each other. Speed's already up in the 228 range, and we're just starting out here. A blistering pace to start out. And it looks like, yeah, the front 6 making a little bit of a breakaway here. Looks like maybe Brennan is taking a peek inside of Doyle here, but he's going to keep it back there.
Yeah, and this is the battle, say, for the top 6 places on the racetrack. And once again, as they come past on the stripe, it's Mitchell Kraken leading the way. And Brandon Trainer in that 4th position, he's really going to be one of the dark horses to watch here today, Aaron. The young kid, he's got a lot of experience at this racetrack behind him. And right now, he's putting out a little bit of a gap from his teammate Ryan Norton and Chris Cahill.
That he is. He did start 3rd, so Tim Doyle did get around him that first lap, but right now he seems content just to hang in that 4th spot, as do all the drivers in the top 6, not really making a move. But while I've been talking about that, Holgate, Ogden, Alatalo have all been closing in, so this 6-car race is about to turn into a 9-car race.
Working away now on lap number 6 of 160. And through the field as well, some great battles going on. But these guys right now just trying to get it working in position, not cause too much of a hassle. They are going too wide, too deep a little bit further back, however. And this is around Kerry Bettenhausen, who's working himself down in 15th position. It looks like he's got himself looking down to the inside. Doug Lero as a 2 wide, 2 deep through turn number 3. Look out, Bettenhausen all the way up towards the wall there. He's going to lose himself 1 position, but Bettenhausen gets through okay, and he's just been passed by Doug Lero, who moves himself now up into the 15th position. Already, however, Paul, Bettenhausen right back on the attack.
Yeah, good move there by Lil. A great move, and it's a testament to the maturity and the practice these guys have, where Bettenhausen was able to hang on to the outside of that turn, but not and he just got a little bit loose there. Able to hang on to the end of that turn there and not lose much of a position, keeps his momentum up. Yeah, Bettenhausen right now under heavy attack from David Judson.
And we've seen just how good Dave Judson has been in the 16 Straight Racing League as he's working away out of turn number 4 once again. Dave Judson running a special paint scheme for this race. We'll talk a little bit more about this as the race progresses. But as they're working away down the front straightaway once again, Bettenhausen very lucky there not to lose the position to Dave Judson, who's starting this race out actually a little bit further down the field than he'll be used to, currently working himself only in the 17th position.
Yeah, he was a threat for the lead at Kentucky. And at most of the ovals, he's been up front. So I'm surprised to see him this far back, starting out. Long race. Let's see if he might need to use a little bit of strategy to get up front. But at this point in the race, I think mid-pack we're going to see a lot of drivers that didn't really have a good qualifying setup going through the field, and maybe some drivers that had a good qualifying setup with clean air. Maybe they're going to struggle, so I think we're going to see a lot of cars coming up fast and falling back fast.
And we talk about the sponsor for Dave Judson, in fact, is the charity Spokes of Green. The group will be riding their bicycles across the USA this coming summer, raising funds for organic gardens and new textbooks in intercity schools. And for more information on that, go to spokesofgreen.com, and a nice little gesture there by Dave Judson, who's currently working his way down in the 17th position. Meanwhile, this battle back up front, still as it was, McCracken from Doyle from Trainer, who just had a tiny peek down to the inside as he came into turn number 1. Wasn't going to be close enough, however. Then Norton running out your top 5, Chris Cahill in 6th. And you're right, Paul, Tim Holgate, Nefriard have all now caught up to the rear of this battle for the race lead.
Yeah, with what is this? 9 of these cars now, 7 of these cars now. You can throw a carpet over them, all less than a second away from each other. And now speeds are amping up a little bit further. Now we're up into the 228.6 range. Pace is picking up. These guys are not slowing down to the start.
And we're going to look at Nefri Arg in the 0-4 car. I'm going to try and go on board with him to come out of turn number 1. The draft effect through turn number 1 means that these guys have to do a little bit of lifting. It's actually Ryan Norton goes way high there ahead. You might have just saw that there, and that meant that Chris Cahill was very close to him as they worked their way out of turn number 2. Cahill deciding that discretion, the better part of valor early on in this race. Didn't want to force a move down to the inside in what is a difficult part of the racetrack, but really the first 2 corners of this racetrack are so much tougher than turn 3 or 4. You consider the fact that it's slightly downhill at that point. You also consider the fact that, you know, the draft and the extra speed, you actually sometimes got to make a little lift in turn number 1, Aaron. And you get that wrong, over A, you're hitting the wall, or B, you're losing yourself all forms of momentum.
Oh, turn 1, I have cracked the wall many times out of turn 1. You got the shadows, and especially if you're not prepared to lift, you're going to be driving through the corner, and by the time you realize you do need to lift, you're already into the wall. Yeah, most certainly turn 1, much more difficult than turn 3. Turn 3 is, well, compared to turn 1, absolutely easy, as the field does work through turn 4 right now. But turn 1, that's another one of those turns. For me, it feels like a road course, meaning that I can go through it 100 times, and I'm always thinking, okay, maybe if I just change my angle just a little bit, maybe I'll be that 1,000th of a second faster. So turn 1, wonderful corner, unless you get it wrong.
Dave Judson there just being able to complete the pass and Kerry Battenhausen, and I tell you what, Randy Freeman looking down to the inside as well. 2 wide as they worked away down the back straightaway, looking as though Freeman's not going to get the help of the draft, because Bettenhausen's all the way out to the wall. No, he's not going to be able to clear him. This is going to be very close. Look out, Freeman will now swoop down to the inside, complete the pass, and pull. That shows that the inside line is the fastest way around this racetrack, but for Bettenhausen, he might have actually been able to hold on had he been able to work that draft a little bit better coming out of turn number 2.
I believe so. Yeah, if you and in this track especially with the very long straightaways, it's all about the setup, and you can sit there and watch this. It's happened to Bettenhausen twice now. A little bit slow off the corner. I think his car's running a little bit loose still. He's still trying to gather it up a little bit, but it's costing him out of the corners, and he's getting run on down the stretch. So by the time you get into the turn, you've got the inside, and obviously you've got to lift. You've got to lift on the second lane, or you're just going to smack the wall something hideous. Yeah, turn. I was also watching Ryan Norton. Looks like his car may be pushing a little bit in the draft, especially through turn 1. I have to keep an eye on that.
And I tell you what, guys, we have got ourselves at the line. 14 laps scored complete, and still everyone is on the lead lap. Everyone is still in the race, and this is all 43 drivers who took the green flag still running. Currently, it is Martin Plowman, the last guy in the lead lap. He's 21 seconds behind the race lead. Out front, still Mitch McCracken from a young O, who tell you what, he's been right there, no more than a car length behind as they're working away out of turn number 4 once again. Tim Doyle still in the 3rd position, Brandon Traino in 4th, Ryan Norton in 5th, Cahill 6th, Tim Holgate 7th, Nefri Arg in 8th, Ruku Alatalo in 9th, Martin Miller rounding out your top 10. And I tell you what, actually, John Portak and Alexi Aloma were having a nice little battle for 11th and 12th positions on the racetrack right now. And I know the Banjorta Sport guys, Paul, are helping out the Maestro ID guys of Alex Gialoma and Ruku Alatalo for this race. But get yourselves into the racetrack, and it's every man for himself.
Absolutely. Alliances end when the green flag drops. It's everyone's got a priority, and that priority is either the first one across that yard of bricks on the last lap. But it does look like Alexi's got a good car under him. Definitely hanging with John Porzik. Just keeping it clean, riding in the draft, maybe trying to save a little bit of gas. And that's something to point out too. At the front group, nobody's making a move, and all those cars behind Mitch McCracken are able to save just a little bit of fuel. And astonishingly, this has gone, as I say, all the cars are still running and started. 43 cars on this track. It is a traffic jam, and everyone's running clean. But if this goes green all the way through, fuel strategy could very well be a huge factor.
And of course, the last time we brought you an Indianapolis race here on GlacierTV was the ISOWC Indianapolis 500 in September, as Dave Judson right up to the rear of Doug Lear, looking as though he's going to try and make a move in turn and 1, thought better of it. And in that race, they did 500 miles in 2 hours and 32 minutes, with only 2 cautions in the race. Could we see the same thing here today, Jeremy?
I think so, Will. These are a great bunch of drivers, and usually once you get past those first 10-15 laps, which we're at right now, and you get caution-free, these drivers get into their rhythm, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this race with caution-free.
The 55 car given a warning for blocking on the racetrack, and that is Mark Shute there in the 55 car. Here's Michael Chin right behind him, and Race Control keeping a very close eye on these guys. And Mark Shute right now, kind of getting himself a bit of a slap on the wrist from Race Control call.
Yeah, he's gonna have to watch that. Again, not only is it unsportsmanlike, it's incredibly dangerous, because if you try and make a move to block somebody and you don't notice it as the person who's passing right away, you're going to run into some serious trouble.
Matthew Lamberton just completing the pass there on Bud Weiser, also looking down to the inside of Dave Jinks as they come into turn number 4. Very close there. We know how aggressive a driver Lamberton can be. That almost ended up in disaster, but thankfully Lamberton just being able to get out the throttle enough to keep the momentum going for him. And Lamberton currently working himself down in the 22nd position. Before that, you have a look at Michael Peters, currently running in 20th. He is right in the middle of what is a huge battle right now, as Randy Freeman looking down to the inside of Michael DeTemple. He should be able to complete this pass by the time they get into turn number 3. Randy Freeman, who started this race in the 16th position, completes a pass there on Michael DeTemple. And I have to say, Freeman right now is charging his way through the field.
He's making good progress. Very quick car under him. We'll have to keep an eye on him when he gets a little later on in the race, but he's a man on the move right now.
And Aaron, once again, he's coming to turn 1. He just gains a heap of time in turn 1. All of a sudden, right behind the rear wing of Carlos Ballard Jr. And it's one of those things, this car's working so well at the beginning of the run, will that work all the way through to one time when these drivers need to make pit stops?
Yeah, it looked like at the start of the race, Randy Freeman, he fell back a little bit, but now his car's coming in, and the way he sliced and diced through that big gaggle of cars, yeah, his car is on the move, and at the rate he's moving up, he'll be maybe the head of that 3-car train that's in front of him in a couple laps, as now Carlos Bolanos Jr. goes to the inside of Dave Judson into 1. Yeah,
and he's going to complete pass. You see that Judson there, just allowed him to go past by the time they got into the corner, then slotted back in behind. And Paul, that is what these drivers are going to do for the first 100, 120 laps. They're going to play it safe, they're going to play it easy. They want to get their car to the point, past the last pit stop so they can race. And then after that, you're not going to see that much kindness coming into the corners, especially down in turn 1. These guys will then really start racing.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense right now to press the issue. If somebody wants to make a pass on you, it's best just to let them go, slot back in, and try and set them up for the next line. But right now, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to get yourself in any trouble and try and fight for anything.
As we're still working away around the racetrack, we have got ourselves 23 laps scored complete in the 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400 here, live and exclusive on GlacierTV. Still leading the way is Mitch McCracken. He has led every single lap of this race. Young O is in the 2nd position, Tim Don in 3rd, Brandon Trang in 4th, and Ryan Norton rounding out the top 5.
Sorry, I was just looking at DuTemple. DuTemple just about hit the wall. He was getting passed by Gary Bettenhoff, but I don't think he saw him. I think he got surprised and almost caught the south end short chute.
And that is going to mean that Lamberton's going to look down to the inside as they come down into turn number 1 on the outside line. Down he hits the wall. Now he hits the wall. He's going to bring that car straight down to the inside. If he can get it off the racetrack,
we got a car tumbling.
Yep, we've got a caution, first caution of the day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And there was an incident with Michael DeTemple. I'm not quite sure who else was involved in that.
They're still wrecking.
And under caution, and I just saw that Eisenberg, yeah, out of the race there in the 46 car, and they're slowing down as they came into, and this is the reason why, because there's a car pointing sideways on the racetrack, and that was Dave Jinks in the 76 car, who had flipped himself over. Caution had just about come out on the racetrack. These cars were all slowing down because of the tempo, and it looks as though that Dave Jinks ran over the rear of Brendan Litchberg, and then he was pointing sideways on the racetrack, and he tried reversing it right into the path there of Eisenberg.
Yeah, that was a really irresponsible thing of Dave to do. He just took out, not quite sure who it was, but he just ruined someone's race.
Yeah, and that's one of the things under caution. If you're stuck on the racetrack, you always just want to keep that car pointing in the right direction. And as I say, this incident all started with Michael DeTemple. We're going to get ourselves a replay right about now. We're going to roll it, and you see that he had the first contact, and we said, we're going to get a replay in a moment's time. He had that first contact. This was down on the short street into turn number 3 and 4. And then coming onto the front straightaway, he was running too wide. And you see the replay coming up on your screen now. Running too wide, they came onto the front straightaway. And then he kind of maybe didn't know how much damage he had, but was still running it safely on the outside line, working his way down the front straightaway, hit Matthew Lamberton, working himself down to the inside as they came down into turn 1. We talked about this previously, that normally you just let the car go past. He looks like he tried doing that, but Lamberton actually struggled a little bit into turn 1, caught a bit of a bump, and this allowed to Temple to have to stay on the outside line. He got into the grey, smacked into the wall. While that was happening behind him, you had Brendan Litchberg check up. Dave Jinks there got turned upside down. You had another car into the wall as well, and that is Sam Bonzit. And as Dave Jinks is flipping over, his car then eventually comes to a rest, and then reverses that car down the racetrack, and then that's what causes the secondary impact there. But really, Dave Jinks, that was a bit inappropriate there, because I mean that car is damaged to hell, and he's not going to get that car repaired at all.
No, there's no words. If you're Litchberg, man, you have 400 miles. You're having a good race. You're cruising. You're having a good time, and then you get taken out like that. Oh, that's a tough time. Which initial wreck, I believe his front what started it. I believed his front wing was bent, and I don't think he knew it as he went into turn 1.
Yeah, they were very close to racing. By the way, pit stops, first round of pit stops is complete. Mitch McCracken comes out ahead of Young O. Ryan Norton managing to gain up 2 positions, and it is now past Tim Doyle and Chris Cahill. And Brandon Trainer actually losing 3 spots there on that first run out of pit road. So a bad pit stop for Brandon Trainer puts him all the way down into the 7th position. We'll come right back to the incident in a moment. First of all, Brandon Trainer, you don't want to lose positions early on here. And that first pit stop really kind of sets the tone for the rest of your race on pit road, Paul.
It really does. I don't know. I didn't get to see what Trano did. I did watch Ryan Norton, incredibly fast stop, and made up a lot of positions here. This could be important further on. Trano, though, unfortunately finds himself now in 6th behind a lot of cars that are basically the same speed as him. It's going to be a very challenging task to try and get around these guys.
Well, I just looked at the replay, and Trano overshot his pit and had to back up. That was the error there.
Yep, and for Trano, that is not what he wants to have, and of course, my attention all automatically turns to Will Power. I mean, he's had issues on pit road, that first pit stop at the Indianapolis 500, 2 years in a row, and that really did set the tone for his race. Currently working away under caution for the first time here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You are watching live webcast of the 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400, and it is Mitch McCracken getting out ahead once again as they came out from the first line of pit stops. Young O in 2nd, Ryan Norton 3rd, Tim Doyle 4th, Chris Cahill now rounding out your top 5, Ryan Trainer in 6th, Nefri Ark 7th, Tim Holgate in 8th, Riku Alatalo in 9th, and then John Porzak rounding out your top 10. Let's go back to the incident once again, Paul. You can never tell, if you just get the slight touch, you can never tell how much damage there is, especially if it's through turn number 3 and 4, until it's too late almost when you're turning into turn number 1. And so many times we've seen this. Guys come in, even if they're taking it a little bit more carefully, they still end up hitting the wall.
Yeah, you can derange the rear end a little bit and not know on the straightaway until you turn in, and suddenly you're not turning, you're spinning, and you know it can be a real challenge. But what's unfortunate is the guy behind you who doesn't know. But the lap before we saw Temple go wide, smack the wall, or almost smack the wall, get very, very close, maybe white-walled it, and that might have contributed to the problem the next lap.
The 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400 on Glacier TV is brought to you by Panther Racing, Ultra 4 Simulations, and also by International Light Technologies. A big thank you to all the sponsors who made this broadcast and the series possible. About to go green flag racing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Single file restarts for this race, and it is Mitch McCracken starting from the point. Young O 2nd, Ryan Norton in 3rd, Tim Doyle in 4th, Chris Cahill rounding out your top 5. We've got the first caution of the day under the books. Will the guys manage to go the same way they went for the first in? We're about to find out. That pace car making that turn down towards pit road. McCracken bringing up speed. We're once again green racing here at the Brickyard.
And it looks like KO's making a move on...
Norton's making him sorry on Tim
Sorry,
Doyle.
Norton. Yeah, Norton making almost got into Tim Doyle there. Still outside, still side by side. Looks like Tim's not going to give it up. Finally slots in behind Ryan Norton.
But he's going to perhaps look down to the inside to come down into turn number 3. And it's actually Tim Doyle who's working his way on the outside line. Let's see whether Tim Doyle will try and make the move as they come down into turn number 3. Not going to do it this time, but very close racing there between the 84 car and the 11 of Tim Doyle on that restart there.
They spread out a lot more this restart than they did the last restart. I think that Tim Doyle and Ryan Norton, you saw, they got into it and only took 2 turns, and McCracken and O already have themselves half a second on it.
And we're currently having a look at the 84 car of Ryan Norton, currently sat himself in the 3rd position. Tim Doyle right behind him. And I tell you what, Brandon Traino's fallen right back on this restart, and this entire top 10 really is a lot more separated. Perhaps the best chance to catch up is going to be with Nick Riag and Chris Cahill, the 2 Panther Sim Racing teammates. They can work together to perhaps catch up to the rear of Brandon Traino, but behind them, Tim Holgate is holding on for dear life right now, as is Ricky Alatalo and John Porzak. The top 10 a lot more separated now, as we've got ourselves now 30 laps scored complete in this race. McCracken still leading the way, and I tell you what, Jeremy, as it was in that first hit, Young Oaks just peeled right to the rear of Mitchell Cracken's gearbox.
Yeah, I'm really surprised he hasn't tried to make the pass. He's either trying to break away from 3rd and 4th of Norton and Doyle right now, or just maybe try to save a little bit of fuel. I'm not quite sure what the fuel numbers are for these guys, but I'm just really surprised he didn't try and take the lead of this race.
Youngo in that 2nd position, we saw this so many times previously. He will just sit there like an absolute hawk. And he talked earlier on in this race, Paul, about how fuel saving can be important. Youngo perhaps decided that he wants to save himself a little bit more fuel right now.
It's a possible strategy. I was watching Carlos Bolanos darn near took out the end of the turn 4 wall. Was pressing on, but he got passed by Judson. Yeah, it is possible that I think combination of trying to break away and trying to save some fuel, but it doesn't appear to be working. Ryan Norton now 0.3 behind Yang O, and they're effectively together again.
Checking in very quickly on that battle for the 13th and 14th positions on the racetrack, and Dave Judson there is able to complete the pass and is now up into the 13th spot, overtaking Carlos Bolanos Jr. in the 3M82 machine as they're working their way down into turn number 1 once again. Ahead of them, you've got yourself Alexi Aloma working himself on Andrew King as they're working their way out of turn number 2 once again. And Aloma, he's a huge dark horse on this race. We haven't seen him in an IndyCar Oval race in God knows how long, but it looks as though the Finnish driver still has it.
Putting on an excellent show so far. Again, gotten a lot of help with some of the teams, and but he's put in a lot of hours here at the track, and it looks like it's paying off. Looks like he's really got the car under him, and he's making some good moves.
And in the words of Aloma, from his pit crew to him, yes, I know what I'm doing, just leave me alone and let me get on with it. But Aloma currently working his way in the 13th position. Ahead of them, you've got yourself Andrew King. John Porzak actually going very wide out of turn number 3, now falling back into the clutches of Andrew King, rather than trying to close down Riku Adatalo. He's actually just caught himself up now to the rear of Tim Holgate. And this Chris Capo thing, not really working out too well, because Traino still able to kind of maintain a gap. But now, Aaron, Tim Doyle, Ryan Norton, right up behind the rear of Young O.
Yeah, we now have a 4-car breakaway, and Traino is losing about a 10th a second a lap to the front 4, so I don't think we're going to see McCracken, Norton, or Doyle try to do anything. They're going to want to break away from this pack, as now Cahill slowly reeling in about just under half a second, but you can definitely see that the gap is closing down the straightaway. So we're going to have about 2 packs forming here in a couple laps, but if you're in the top 4, you're going to want to keep as much distance as possible. Now, previous lap 1.5 seconds from 1st to 5th.
And I tell you what, while some of these drivers in the top pack might not be best of friends right now, they have that common goal, that common objective as Tim Doyle almost looking down to the inside of Ryan Norton. He goes a little bit high once again in turn number 1. They might not be best friends on the racetrack or off the racetrack, Paul, but right now that common goal, let's get ahead of everyone else before we start fighting.
Right, doesn't make a lot of sense to do that right now. I'm watching a very spirited battle between Bolanos, Peters, and Judson. They've traded spots a couple of times here. Looks like now Bolanos is going to fall behind Peters, and Judson is going to... Whoa! Oh. Wow!
And meanwhile, Tim Doyle completes a pass there on Ryan Norton, and he has so much momentum, he almost looked down to the inside of Young O at the same time, but that was close there.
They go back at Bolanos around.
Yo! And caution out for the second time here today. A huge crash there for Carlos Bolanos Jr. once again down into turn number 1, and it looks as though he just caught the right front tyre there of Dave Judson as they came in. Judson, as they came into the corner, had the inside line, but it just looks as though that Judson might have just turned in an inch too late there, and Bolanos Jr. not ready for that. All of a sudden, he's into the fence. Second caution of the day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That's unfortunate. One of our most exciting drivers. We've taught all the oval races. It seems if there's action on the track, it's centered around Bolanos, and his race now over on lap 37.
Yep, so our second caution of the day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that is Carlos Bolanos Jr., who is now going to be out of the race. We're going to get ourselves a replay of that incident in just a moment's time, and this will be with Carlos Bolanos Jr. and Dave Judson and Michael Peters, who are battling for position on the racetrack. And you had Dave Judson there, who was right behind Carlos Bolanos Jr., about to roll the tape, but they worked their way through turn 3 and 4 on the racetrack, and Dave Judson just got himself a better run as they came out of turn number 4 and was able to work the pass on the inside line as they came down into turn number 1. They almost touched actually as they came out of turn number 4. It looked as though Judson's car was just pushing a little bit on the racetrack as he was working in traffic, but still they were working their way down to turn number 1. In fact, that Judson also had a bit of pressure from Doug Leal as well. Coming down into turn number 1, it just looks as though he pulled out. By the time he pulled out, he didn't realise he had to turn into the corner, turn maybe just half a car length too late. And of course, you can turn whenever you want to, but with car on the outside line, Carlos Bolanos Jr. there, the unfortunate victim in the American Red Cross 3M machine, and he's going to be classified as out of the race. And hugely disappointing there for Bolanos Jr., who had a lot of speed coming into this race.
Okay, we got pit stops going on, well, sorry, but Mitch McCracken stayed out. Young O comes into the pits.
Looks like Young
stays
O.
out.
Look, I'm sorry, the first 10 or 15 guys, looks like Young O is the only leaders, or I'm sorry, looks like Doyle's in there also, choosing to pit. McCracken staying out, Norton staying out, and Trano staying out. We're going to have to see what the strategy plays out here. I don't know if they're hoping for another yellow or what they've got going on.
Wow.
So both Tim Doyle and Young O, in fact, Tim Doyle overshoots his pit box as well, just a little bit. So he is going to lose himself a little bit more time on the racetrack. But they are both out and away without any further issues. We've seen this before, though. Tim Doyle and Young O, of course, are teammates, and they do the alternative strategies so often. I've seen many different alternative strategies where these two, quite often, they pay out. And I'm just thinking the way it would work from here on in, they're thinking that they might be able to get to the end if they were to count back now, pit stop wise, but they're now going to be placed at the rear of the field, and they are a full 35 cars behind the race leader. And Jeremy, it's a big gamble, but it's going to have to be one that they're going to have to work with now for the rest of the race.
This race in track is a lot more about luck as far as the winner goes, and then the fastest car skill. So maybe it might be a case of Yang O and Tim Doyle just needing a little bit of luck, and maybe we get a long green run here, everyone pits, and they have a little bit of extra gambling time to where they can stay out and possibly get a caution and get that track position back.
And guys, we have to reset it for a moment. I tell you what, one of the guys who really has been a standout guy for me in this race started all the way down in the 27th position, now working his way in the 13th spot. Michael Peters in that 33 car has been on fire today.
Michael Peters putting on a spirited drive. We were talking about him earlier. He's just slicing it up. You know, he's just very, very quick. And the car, he can place the car anywhere. And that is almost more important than being wickedly fast. This track, with the turns the way they are, it's almost, you can afford to get in slower, and as long as you get out faster. It's all about getting the run on the front stretch. So, you know, and when cars are as fast as you are, it's all about the timing and the angles, and it just looks like Michael really has a car he can put anywhere he needs.
Working away under the second caution of the day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Mitchell Kraken, of course, still is your race leader. This puts now Ryan Norton up into the second position, Brandon Traynor into third, Chris Cahill into fourth, and Nefri Ag running out your top five. And Aaron, I'm going to come to you on this one. The way this is going to have to work out for Tim Doyle and Young O, they're going to have to hope now for long green flag runs and that everyone else makes a pit stop before another caution comes out so that they can capitalise.
They obviously are, boy, I don't know if I like that plan. I like staying up front, but, you know, they've won more races than I have, so they obviously know what they're doing. Being mid-pack, though, they're running 17th and 18th. Maybe they thought more cars were going to come in. And then again, maybe this is exactly what they wanted, but we've seen the front pack sort of start to pull away. And, yeah, even if they pitted early, they must have worked the math backwards. Let's say if we go green flag the rest of the way, and if they can do it in one less pit stop, they've got this race in hand. Indeed,
yeah. And it's going to be tough for them. However, if they can get it done, then it's going to be truly amazing to watch them either A, the field, or B, die trying hard. In the meanwhile, let's check in with our celebrity driver Martin Plowman. He's had himself a difficult day. For those of you who don't know about Plowman, he made his Eyes on IndyCar Series debut with Slam Strip Motorsport as part of the AFS racing team back in 2011, competing at events at Mid-Ohio Sports Course, Infineon Raceway, and the Baltimore Grand Prix. In 2012, he raced with Conquest Endurance in the American Le Mans Series. So he's having a bit of a tough day here today. Currently scored as 2 laps down.
Pace car's in.
As the pace car does come back on towards pit road, and we are back green racing. And a bit of a slow start there as they're working their way back down to turn number 1 once again. And that gave McCracken a little bit of a jump as they're working their way through turn number 1 and 2. Norton second, Traynor in third, and once again they're still getting very separated as they're working their way down the back straightaway once again.
Yes, it has, or yes, it is, and it's going to be interesting. Mitch McCracken has had Young O behind him this entire race. When Ryan Norton, if he can use the draft and get up there, will he be as patient as Young, or will he want to get some credits for some laps led?
Yeah, so working away out of turn number 4 once again. This is going to be hugely intriguing to watch Norton and McCracken doing battle on the racetrack. Of course, we'll keep an eye on Tim Doyle and Young O, as Tim Doyle is actually looking himself down to the inside of the 2-car of Brian Simpson as they come down into turn number 1. They'll complete the pass pretty easy there, and he'll move himself up into the 17th position on the racetrack. Ahead of that, you've got Eski Aloma putting the pressure on Andrew King once again, but now Norton is right up towards the rear of Mitch McCracken. It only took him about a lap and a half to do so. Will Norton try and take the race lead, do you think, Paul?
Well, Lesky
way wide out of the groove, getting passed by Peters, and loses position to Learley. Peters on the move. Here we go again.
Yeah, Peters still back on the move, and I had to say Aloma there, very lucky to keep it out of the wall. But Peters now right up behind the rear into the top 10, and he is now just behind Andrew King and John Paulzak, who are battling for his now 8th and 9th positions on the racetrack. I had to say though, with this Norton-McCracken battle, it doesn't look as though Norton can close up to the rear of McCracken the same way that Young O was able to do early on in this race. Perhaps he might need another lap or so to get those tyres back up to operating temperature. In fact, he does get a lot closer to work the way through turn number 3 and 4. But this is going to be interesting. In fact, he's now really close behind. So working away down the front straight away. Will Norton try and make the move down to the left-hand side? This is the battle for the race lead. Norton thinks better of it there, so coming down to turn number 1. But I had to say that 84 Broken Arrow car has got some good straight line speed.
He's coming off the corners really nice, and is getting a little bit of a run. I think that Norton is bagging out a little bit just to try and stay behind McCracken at this point. Still a little early to get dicey, and he does occasionally poke out just to remind McCracken that he's back there, and looks like Trino's kind of doing the same thing. Oh, whoa! Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. But,
again, going for the lead though right now, if you can save just maybe a quarter lap, half lap of gas, if you can do that on 2 stints and you gain that 1 lap, when it comes time for lap 159 and you have that extra lap, that could be the difference between first and running out.
And also, let's not forget that these guys have only got themselves about half a tank of fuel in their cars. They didn't pit. Therefore, saving a little bit of fuel now, it might get you to the next lap. And coming onto pit road, we talked about this in our pre-race show, Aaron, means that you can have a nice clear pit road to get in and off of. For Norton, perhaps the best place to stay right now is in second place, saving fuel.
Oh, I love that strategy. What do you gain by going for the lead now? What trophy does lap 45 pay? Nothing. Save that fuel, stay online, and I think that's exactly what Brandon Treno's doing. Cahill, Holgate, they're all playing the fuel game. So right now, really, McCracken's just out there leading the pack and burning the most fuel. He'll probably have to come in 1 lap early, and that will then give Norton the clean entry in.
And we're working away now on the racetrack back into turn number 3. Looking on board with Ryan Norton, and you just see how close he is to the rear wing of Mitchell Kraken as they're working away through turn number 4 once again. In fact, he gets himself a little bit of a slide as they come off the corner. But just look at the way they take turn number 1. Just listen to the engine note. In fact, we'll stay silent for a minute as you listen to that engine note as they come down into turn number 1. Just look at how much speed they're taking into that corner. And as I said earlier, these guys have got the weight checker they can use. What that does is it raises and lowers the right rear of the car. If you increase the weight jacket, it gives yourself a little bit more oversteer into the car, makes it especially easy to navigate turn number 1. You've got the front and rear anti-roll bars as well, which also help the balance of the race car, especially on these long fuel runs. If you had a caution, you're getting your tyres back up to working temperature. But right now for Norton, that car looks as though it is perfectly balanced on the racetrack, as is McCracken's, as is Brandon Treno's. And in fact, Chris Cahill in 4th as well, right up there, and Tim Holgate and Nefriad. All of these, in fact, even Anatalo as well, these top 7 cars, beautifully balanced right now, Paul.
Absolutely, they look like they're really hooked up. Working very well in the draft, and again, the benefit of being behind somebody is you actually, almost the entire way around, you're not at 100% throttle. You have to feather or you're going to rear end the guy in front of you. So these guys feathering the throttle, every little bit saves the gas, and it also helps to set the car into the corner a little bit easier. So it actually makes it easier to get into turn 1. The problem, of course, when you're that close, it's hard to see turn 1. So you've got to sort of use other references other than looking into the turn. It's almost a blind turn when you're that close to somebody. Meanwhile, Michael Peters' watch, we're up to 8th now, still charging ahead.
Yeah, Michael Peters is doing a great job, as in fact John Porzak there. He's going to have Andrew King looking down to his insides to come down into turn number 3, and King going to work that inside line, will complete the pass as they work their way down to the short chute once again. And Peters has really got that car working well for him, that 33 Mesa car beautifully working on the racetrack right now into 8th position. However, he's going to have a trouble now trying to close up to the rear of this 7-car pack out front. Last time by, Michael Peters did a 39.510 as the caution is out. They're not going to be doing anything this time. Our 3rd caution of the day.
Martin Plowman.
And that's going to be huge disappointing there for our celebrity driver, Martin Plowman. Tim Miller is up and over on the start-finish line as well. And it all started with Martin and Brian Simpson actually into the wall as well, Brian Stevens even. And this all started coming out of turn number 4 as Plowman getting a wiggle as he tried coming onto pit road and he got rear-ended there by Brian Stevens.
Yeah, it looked like he did get a little bit of wiggle. I think maybe he was just off the gas. He was trying to make the turn into pit road, and I think Stevens, I don't know if he was just trying to get under him. He didn't realize what was happening. We've seen this incident before, though, where somebody tries to make that turn into the pit, and you try and get on the inside of him, and that's what happens.
Yeah, to say it was coming out of turn number 4, and this is Martin Plowman in the 9 car. He's actually working himself a little bit better on the racetrack, really able to stay with some of these cars in this stint. But as he came out turn before, he got himself a wiggle as he was coming down onto pit road. He got himself inside that white line, but I'm not sure whether Brian Stevens was looking to come in on that same lap, but just speared into the attenuator there, did Brian Stevens, and then Tim Miller also getting just spun upside down at the same time as well. And disappointing there for Tim Miller as he's minding his own business. Cars swarming around him, just the smoke. You never know where to put that car in a situation like that. You pick one direction, half the time it works, half the time it doesn't. But Tim Miller and Martin Plowman are going to be out of the race, as will be Brian Stevens, as it looks as though pit road is going to be a very busy place this time.
Yes, it is, and the way that yellow fell, Will, do you think for Doyle and O's strategy, do you think that yellow happened at the right time, or did they want to see that go green a little bit longer?
They want to see it go green a little bit longer, but let's not forget that they have to put in a lot less fuel than everyone else, as these cars now coming onto pit road. Let's look, everyone is coming in this time. McCracken leading the field down pit road, 55 miles an hour. Ryan Norton second, Treno third, Chris Cahill in the fourth position. They're all going to be looking for their pit boxes, and this is where you've really got to be careful to make sure you don't overshoot now. It's a critical part of the race, get that momentum for the middle stint. But I think for Owen Tim Doyle, they have come in, they'll take a lot less fuel. That means it's going to be a lot shorter on the jacks. They can gain actually some of those positions back now. So it's damage limitation there for those two drivers. It won't be as bad as they thought. They're all into their pit box, keeping an eye on Mitch McCracken. He is out and away. It's going to be very close, but he just keeps first position. And Trainer getting ahead of Chris Cahill as well. And they were 4 wide coming out of pit road there.
Wow. Very interesting pit exit there. Yeah, that was impressive. Ryan Norton, another great stop, almost got McCracken.
And we're going to have a big change up front. Randy Freeman, Budweiser, Joe Branch, Michael Chen, David Ward, and I believe Al Nagy's a lap down, but all those previous drivers stayed out.
And they came in on the last pit stops, and now they're trying to work strategy to their advantage. And having a look back at these cars coming out of pit road, you had Youngo, Tim Doyle, I believe that was Aleski Aloma, and Matt Lamberton, all separated 4 wide by no more than 1/10 of a second on the racetrack. And having a look back in super slow-mo, and it was O who came out first, and then it was Lamberton, then Doyle, and then Aloma. But these cars literally somehow managing to get 4 wide out pit road without spinning into each other. But you're right, as they're working their way past the start-finish line once again, it's going to be hugely interesting now to see what is going to happen with different cars out front. Randy Freeman is currently classified as your race leader, and then you're going to have yourself Budweiser at second, Joe Branch third, then Michael Chin, David Ward, Al Nagy are all ahead right now of your race leader, Mitch McCracken. And for Al Nagy, he's going to have to hope that these cars come into pit road, because he's currently scored 1 lap down, and he was hoping that everyone was going to come in there. Unfortunately, that is not going to be the case. And Al Nagy right now is going to have to be on damage limitation mode. As I said, he is currently 1 lap down. In the meanwhile, we're going to talk very quickly to Dave Jinks in the 76 car. We saw him getting spun around as they worked their way into turn number 1 and 2 earlier on in this race, involved in an incident as cars were stacking up to avoid Michael DeTemple, who hit the wall out of turn number 1. And Dave, disappointing to see your race end early on here today.
Thanks, Will. Yeah, I am a bit disappointed. Not angry, of course. It's a racing incident. I'm sure DeTemple didn't do anything on purpose, but it did cause the accordion effect. And by the time things happened so fast, there was nothing to do but hit the wall. Hit the back end of Brendan.
Yeah, and coming through those speeds in turn number 1, it's always a difficult part of the racetrack, and you never want to have a moment there when you have to check up, especially when you're running too wide. So disappointed to have your race end early today, but you're looking for better fortunes next time out?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not done. I just was trying to settle in early part of the race and run a smart race. Thought I had a good shot at a good finish. But we'll get them next time.
Dave Jinks, who will be classified all the way down in the 42nd position, the second of the retirees here today. We're going to go back to Green Flag Racing this time by, and it is going to be all change out front. Randy Freeman from Budweiser, from Joe Branch, from Michael Chin, from David Ward. You also have Al Nagy, who was involved in this as well, who is currently sat 6th in line. However, he scored 1 lap down, trying to get himself a lap back on the racetrack. Pace car working himself out of turn number 4, and we'll keep an eye out on Randy Freeman because he was fast earlier on. Budweiser, of course, is an absolute specialist when it comes to this racetrack, and Joe Branch as well, looking to see whether the alternative strategy will bring him a step closer to Victory Road, waiting for that iRacing.com pace car to make itself back down towards pit road. And as he does so for the 4th time here today, we're going to go back to Green Flag Racing as Freeman now picks up the pace and he gets himself a nice early jump there from Budweiser as his car's now back to Green Flag Racing.
And it looks like Randy Freeman got a really good jump on Bud there. Of course, he's just going to get reeled back in, but a great start for Randy Freeman, and another nice clean start here.
I'm keeping an eye on Al Nagy as well because, of course, he is a lap down. For him right now, he's got to try and get himself as past as many of these cars as possible to try and get himself back onto the lead lap should another caution fly. But right now, Al Nagy is closing up towards the rear of David Ward. It looks as though that these top 4 guys, especially out front, are working themselves pretty nicely. David Ward a little bit sluggish from that restart. All of a sudden now has Al Nagy right behind him, and Mitchell Kraken in turn closing up, who was your race leader before this caution.
Yes, indeed, and it looks like actually it does look like Nagy's got a pretty good car setup here. He's right behind looks like David Ward. So yeah, he's going to be very interested in trying to make positions up, get up front, and hopefully get himself another caution, get himself back on the lead lap.
And one thing about that, Will, is if Nagy's going to need a yellow, he's going to need the cars in front of him to pit to get that yellow, which means he's going to have to stay in front of Mitch McCracken, who has had to pass his car here. So will he block Mitch, or when Mitch gets there, he's probably going to have to let it go, but if he wants to get back on that lead lap, he is going to have to stay in front of McCracken.
And of course, Race Control are keeping a very close eye on blocking, but of course, you can make life difficult for drivers, work that inside line a little bit more, force him perhaps to try and go to the high side. And for Al Nagy, he has the right to defend his position. Normally, the kind of unwritten rule is, as soon as the first car goes past, you'll just let them all by. But, good point there, Al Nagy, in reality, has to stay ahead of Mitchell Kraken if he wants to get his lap back, and that is going to be crucially important for the 44 car, who now has McCracken just about 4.5 car lengths behind, working away down the front straightaway once again. Meanwhile, Randy Freeman has got himself a 0.6 of a second gap right now over Budweiser in the 2nd position. Joe Branch is in 3rd as Weishart so close to the wall there, and that's going to allow Joe Branch to get a huge run to out of turn number 2. And Alatalo, sorry, he's into the wall. Riku Alatalo is into the wall. We're trying to get an update, see what happened to him. But it looks as though his day is going to be done early on here today. Riku Alatalo, hugely disappointing there for the Finnish driver.
And yeah, it just looks like he went a little bit wide in turn 1, got into the marbles. He tried to slow it down, tried his best, but he just caught the wall and skewed up his suspension a little bit. It looks like his day is going to be done.
And this was working himself down into turn 1. He had himself Nefriag looking to his inside. Alatalo in the 39 machine. He was right up to the wall actually as they came in, and I think he actually just whitewalled the wall as they worked their way down the front straight away. As I have a look back, just as he came past the yard bricks, he touched the wall, and then he turned into turn 1, and he already had the suspension damage, reminiscent of Power back in Homestead 2010. And he just wouldn't turn. Lucky though, Aaron, to avoid the caution coming out.
Yeah, if you back it up further, he actually conked the wall out of 4, so he was probably fighting that car all the way down the straightaway, which led him to hit the wall at the finish line, but there is no way that car would enter turn 1. As you can see, his car got very loose on entry, so very, very professional job to not get other people caught up in his issue.
And once again, from my Friday driver, Paul, huge disappointing for him.
It really is. Riku kind of made this a special race for him. He's not generally somebody, he'd stated before, he was not really interested in running the ovals, but, with getting talked into it with the other teams and everything, we really wanted to see him here. We really wanted to see him do a good job. And he was running a nice, clean race, and it's just a shame. Just a shame this happened.
Replay on board as they worked their way out of turn number 3. So, Alatalo, and you're right, he did clonk the wall out of turn number 4 there, and he was actually fighting that car quite a bit as they were working their way down the front straightaway, and that was a hard look actually, 225 plus miles an hour. Cars falling past him, and Nefriag must have seen that happen and thought, okay, I need to get down to the inside now. And then he slowed that car all the way down to about 150 miles an hour through turn 1. He was in the grey, however, and it's so slippery up there. He hit the wall once again, and I tell you what, he almost took out his teammate, Alaskia Loma, as they worked their way out of turn number 1. And it was so close between those two drivers that Aloma, of course, no issues to him, as he almost actually there spun the car himself. Aloma lost himself a ton of time having to check up there. He slowed that car right down, and the Team I3ID drivers are almost taking each other out. Aloma losing himself a position in the process there. It looks as though to Mark Shoot and is now stuck behind him on the racetrack as we speak. And difficult time there also for Alaskia Loma.
Yeah, good recognition by Alaskia. I'm looking at, we're 3 wide down the front, so almost 3 wide down the front stretch. We got Chin, Ward, and McCracken are fighting. It's like Ward's going to try Chin on the inside, and that's not Chin. Sorry, that's Mal Nagy. I'm sorry.
Meanwhile, we've got Gary Borkenhagen and Brian Simpson also battling. They've been 2 wide for half a lap now, down into turn 1 once again. And Brian Simpson still working that outside line as they're working their way down into turn 2 once again. Now he's going to have to relent, but still Brian Simpson trying to work that outside line. And now he's getting squeezed out. And look at this, Brandon Litchberg looking down to the inside. He's going to try and take both of them as they work their way down into turn 3. Brandon Litchberg there, a beautiful slingshot pass, gets past one of them, and then he'll get past the second one as they work their way out of turn 4. In the meanwhile,
here comes Simpson.
Yeah, Simpson on the move. Kevin Kress, and look at Courtney Terrell, boxed on the outside line, trying to make himself work on the outside as they come into turn 1. He had nowhere to go, but Courtney Terrell, Arrow, really right now in that Versus car, doing a great job.
Yeah, I've been watching him past 5 laps, and he has been on the move. He got through, he got through Kress, I'm going the wrong way. He got through Borkenhagen, Simpson, and Lichtenberg, and made some great 3 wide passes on the back straightaway, and he is on the move as he now goes to the inside of Kress.
Meanwhile, Branch,
Go on.
Branch up to P2, making a good pass on Weiser.
Yeah, I was about to say exactly the same thing. Joe Branch now up into the 2nd position and right rear of Randy Freeman as they work their way down the back straightaway once again. Very quickly, we are going to bring into the Glacier TV booth Mr. Rico Alatalo, and Alatalo, ends early for you. You must be hugely disappointed.
Yeah, it was my first Indy event, so I was happy to not take anyone out in the incident. I just got a bit bored of single file, and I guess I forgot to turn in enough and hit the wall out of 4, and then try to turn into 1, and the car just came loose. I'm just happy I didn't take anyone else out in the incident.
Well, you almost took your teammate out. You almost took Aloma out, actually, as they were working away. But meanwhile, we've got ourselves a huge battle going on at the moment. And McCracken has actually been able to get himself past Al Nagy now, so that is important. We'll come back to that in a moment. But it looks like that car, he had itself a moment in turn 3, and then he tried turning it into turn 1. It just had no grip, no suspension at all. But when you put it into the big picture, I mean, you got yourself through the first quarter of the race. What can you take out of Indy?
It was fun while it lasted. I guess I'll come back for the Indy 500 later on this year.
10-4 Ricky Alatalo there, unfortunately an early victim here today in this race. And to check back in this battle for the race lead, Joe Branch right up to the rear of Randy Freeman, so working way back down into turn 3 and 4 once again, Aaron.
That they are, and these cars are going to have to pit sooner than the McCracken, who is running in the 6th spot. So again, if you're running 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, you're probably trying to gain that extra quarter half, maybe even that full lap, because that amount of time, if you can stay out one more lap, can be beneficial. One thing about McCracken, I have been watching him. It took him a long time to get around Al Nagy, which he actually got around Al when David Ward made the pass on him. But I've been about 8-10 laps ago, if you listen to him in turn 1, he was having to do big lifts with the car in front of him. So perhaps his setup is better suited to lead rather than to follow.
And Paul, that's an important factor because it's all good having a car that works well in clean air. If your car doesn't work in traffic, especially when you come up to the lap cars and long green flag runs, you're really going to be in trouble.
Absolutely. If you and you know, Mitch may well have done that, knowing he was on the pole and knowing he would not have a lot of cars in front of him. Perhaps set his car up so that it was a little more attuned to the clean air. You get into the dirty air, now you're going to have some issues, and you're not going to be able to quite make those runs on people. So, what do? Do you press the issue? Do you hang back and hope that the guy in front makes a mistake?
Joe Branch, meanwhile, down to the inside. This is the battle for the race lead. Joe Branch will complete the pass, and the Indiana resident is going to lead as they come to conclusion of lap number 67 here. Joe Branch, it just looks like Freeman got himself a little bit high as they came into turn number 3. Joe Branch slipped it down the inside, and now Joe Branch leads the 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400, and that was a picture-perfect pass there, taking every opportunity.
I think Joe was probably setting that up for a while, and finally just decided it was his time to get up there. You know, I mean, they solved the temperature problems here, so there's really no reason to jump out in front, but perhaps his car does handle a little bit better. I mean, we're looking at it now. It looks like Joe actually is a little bit quicker and maybe pulling away a little bit.
Gonna check in for what is essentially the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th and 9th position on the racetrack. David Ward, Mitch McCracken, Ryan Norton, Brandon Traino, Chris Cahoe, and Tim Holgate also involved in that as well. And these guys are very close to running on the racetrack right now. David Ward, last lap, a 39.211. However, these cars behind him aren't able to complete the pass, and McCracken still struggling in that dirty air a little bit, and that is allowing Al Nagy to kind of stay in the picture, but also Ryan Norton close right up to the rear of these drivers.
Al Nagy really needs a break here. He's got to get that lap back if he has any hope of doing anything. And in order to do that, he's got to get around McCracken. But it just does not look like he's able to do that. And, you know, Vice looks like McCracken can't really get around...
Spit it out.
Sorry, Ward.
There we are.
Lost my button. Yeah, I can't get around Ward with, you know, the aforementioned dirty air problem. So I think McCracken really just needs to depend on Ward to make a mistake and get past him.
Yeah.
Ward looks like he might have disappeared.
Yep, and Mitch McCracken here going to have to be a little bit careful, working way down the front straightaway once again. But Ryan Norton's dropped back actually this previous couple of laps. He's got his teammate Brandon Trainer right behind him. Chris Cahoe in the 9th spot also fallen back a little bit because he's having to defend quite heavily from Holgate for the time being. And then Michael Peters sat in that 10th position. He's a full 6/10 of a second back. But this is going to be really interesting now for Al Nagy, because he needs to stay ahead of these drivers, and Nagy really now needs to hope that he can either get past McCracken or be right there with him and hope that McCracken pits again on the next pit stop, as Nagy's he's so desperate, he's actually trying to look down to the inside of Mick McCracken as they're working way down the front straightaway.
Yeah, I think one of the things, McCracken was doing with David Ward, remember, all the cars in front of him had pitted, or have not pitted, sorry. So what that meant was McCracken was saving fuel. Yeah, when he was further behind, he was having to lift, but I don't think McCracken really wanted around knowing that everybody in front of him is going to have to pit. So what better way to be the eventual race leader if we do cycle through and be able to save fuel at the same time.
And meanwhile, Dave Ward apparently looks like he's dropped out. So we've got Mitch McCracken now is up into, what is it, 5th, I believe. And, yeah, you know, I gotta wonder if Mitch McCracken is gonna think about maybe just letting Nagy go past and draft him. But it does look like he's much faster. I think he's happier in the clean air. I think perhaps his strategy all along is to just keep plugging along and try and catch up with his group. Last lap for Mitch McCracken, 39.260 to Michael Chu's 39.324. So very slowly, but he is faster than the guy in front of him.
Yeah, and indeed, you give it perhaps 10 laps time, he could actually be right up there with Branch, Freeman, Wiser chin. So if things are cracking right now, he's just going to carry him powering around this racetrack. Last time by a 39.264. So very consistent laps there for McCracken. Meanwhile, Michael Chin actually does a 39.133, his fastest lap of the race. But Joe Branch out front right now. He just set his fast lap of the race as well, a 39.233. The kid from Indiana really right now has to have a huge run of the face. He's leading essentially his home race out front. And I know he's got a lot of people watching this race in Indiana, so hello to all of you. Joe Branch right now driving for his life in that 15 Panther racing car.
You know, I've been up here before, and it just seems like the worst place to be because you know that people can be as fast as you. They're sort of on the radio, Budweiser's looking to pit.
Yep, Budweiser might be coming down to pit road this time by, and we're approaching that pit stop window for these drivers who stayed out on this last pit stop. And perhaps Joe Branch will be coming down pit road either this or next time as well. We expect Randy Freeman to come in at some point soon as well. So we're going to keep an eye as these cars now fold into pit road. Randy Freeman comes in, almost puts it into that inside wall there, but they are both down onto pit road. Budweiser and Randy Freeman in. Freeman actually gets a better pit entry there. I don't think anyone's coming down pit road this time by, but we'll keep an eye out on Joe Branch in the 15 Panther racing car, perhaps pitting in the next couple of laps. Michael Chin in second. We expect him to perhaps pit in the next couple of laps as well. But these cars working their way down the back straight away. They have got themselves 76 laps scored complete in the 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400 live and exclusive on Glacier TV. Joe Branch working his way out of turn number 4. Is he going to pit this time by? No, he's not. Michael Chin's not going to pit this time either. But right now, it's just a case of let's get as many laps done as possible. As I believe at some point soon, Al Nagy's going to come onto pit road as well. So this is going to hurt him in his quest to get his lap back.
Yes, it will. Joe Branch just announced over the radio he's going to be pitting. And it looks like Joe Branch really making some space now. I don't know if that's by design by Michael Chin, just so there's no interference with the pit road. But every half a second counts here, so you don't want to let him get too far away.
We're going to go on board with Joe Branch in the 15 car, coming out of turn number 4. Expect him to pit now, and he slows that car all the way down to 55 miles an hour. Don't speed. Perfect entry there for Joe Branch. A good entry there for Michael Chin as well. In fact, much better entry there for Michael Chin. Just having a look back to see whether he made it down in time. Indeed, he did. But both of them into their pit boxes now. Michael Chin into his pit box. Al Nagy into the pit box as well. Meanwhile, almost 3 wide behind him, Kevin Kress there just passing Doug Leal, who's hung out all the way on the outside line. Alex Guillaume also getting past. This is about 14th, 15th and 16th positions on the racetrack. To check back in, however, with Joe Branch. He was your race leader last time by. Now he comes back down pit road to get back onto the racetrack. And these guys right now, for this strategy to work, they have not got to get a caution in the next 20 laps. Otherwise, they're going to be completely screwed.
Indeed, not to derail here, I'm looking at a real spirited battle between Judson and Nagy. They've been side by side now for, Judson and Ogg rather. They've been side by side now for the better part of 2 laps. Finally, Judson falls in behind Ogg. But
if that didn't get settled, they were working on a caution, but they now fall single file.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very tight racing there. And of course, we know that Matthew Lambertson, at this point, I mean, if he sees an opening, he's gonna take it. He's aggressive. He will take an opportunity if it's presented to him. So I would have been, if they'd have kept that up, then Lambertson would have been right into there too.
And just having a look actually back at Michael Chin coming out of pit road. We talked about the rule before this race, Paul, about how these drivers had to stay inside the white line. Michael Chin on his pit exit actually put 2 wheels outside that white line. He might have to come back down again and serve himself a black flag penalty.
Absolutely. If those race stewards were very adamant about the fact that you had to remain completely below the white line. So it may very well be that you may be assessed to stop and go here.
So it is once again Mitch McCracken, your race leader. Ryan Norton back up into the 2nd position. Brandon Traino into 3rd. Chris Cahill 4th. Tim Holgate rounding out your top 5. And look at Michael Peters now up into the 6th position. He's got young Owen Tim Dole in 7th and 8th as well. And they have now caught up to the rear of this pack. So for Owen Tim Doyle, really, all they've done with their strategy is put themselves back about 4 cars in line, and that's not worked out at all for those 2 drivers.
You can bet they'll rethink that strategy if they get the same, if they could play it over again, they would definitely do it differently. But perhaps if the race would have if we would have gone green all the way, maybe their strategy would have, maybe it was worth the risk. They weren't paid out in the reward, but perhaps it was worth it, but, or would have been worth it. Right now they're going to have their work cut out to get through that pack of cars in front of them.
And of course, when the fact that they're still in this pack of cars means they still have a shot for victory. The important thing is, however, how close do you have to, how early you call? Do you make these strategy calls? Do you do it early on in the race and see how it feeds in? Or is it something that you do at the last minute, you know, in that last pit stop to make that big strategy call? Was it perhaps too early for Tim Dawn and Young O?
I don't think so. I think they took a gamble, and in order for the strategy they were working on to work, you had to start it early. So, you know, I mean, you're taking a bet. You're taking a bet that something's going to happen, and if it doesn't, then that's what happens. But, you know, it's still not out. We've seen the miracle plays before, and a lot of racing left to go. So anything can happen with these guys.
Working away currently on lap number 84 of 160 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Very quickly, to those of you who are watching the broadcast, you will see that the race distance is scheduled for 163 laps. That is, of course, due to the fact as Tim Donovan is running out over Young O there as they come down into turn number 1. That is, of course, due to the fact that we had the 3 extra laps of this race for these cars to get free wide and for the start, as now Tim Dodd pushing Young O past Michael Peters as they work their way down the straightaway once again. So, of course, on your screen you will see 163 laps, we're doing 160 laps of racing, however, as Tim Dodd and Young O there both getting past Michael Peters.
Yeah, they're trying to get themselves back up to the front. You know, Michael Peters, we've paid to talk about him. Guess where he is? Up in the front pack. We were talking about him making his move, and he's doing a very good job of getting where he needs to be. I've been watching this Andrew King, Dave Judson, Nefri Ogg saga playing out. They were at it again for a couple of laps. Looked like they sorted back out again, but it definitely looks like Judson and Ogg definitely don't want to be behind each other.
Indeed, yeah, and having a look back as well, and it's issue between Joe Branch, Michael Chin, Randy Freeman, as Joe Branch just letting Paul that go past, and Michael Chin gets past as well there, and it looks like Randy Freeman's going to try and do it as well. And this is one of the issues now for these drivers, is Randy Freeman's going to go to the high side, so working away down in the front straightaway once again. Al Nagy is here as well. It's going to be who's going to cut. They almost touch. They come down to turn and 1. Freeman looking to try and complete the pass on the outside line. Going to be so close to the wall. Will complete the pass. And for Joe Branch, that is important because the 2 guys who he is racing are Michael Chin and Randy Freeman. He lets a car who's on the lead lap on a different strategy go past. All of a sudden, he's put himself out the catbird seat in that strategy battle.
Yeah, for Chin, Freeman, and Branch, they really, by racing up like that, they really should be working together, because those 3 drivers, they may not be teammates off the track, but right now, with their strategies, they are teammates. They need to get in line, draft, and try to make up as much time as possible, because if they fight it up and lose a couple seconds as a pit stop cycle, instead of being in the lead, they're going to be mid-pack.
Yep, and these drivers currently are scored 1 lap down. So, to be fair, even if all these other guys right now will have to pit, probably, if another caution comes out. However, one of them stays out, they're completely messed up for the rest of this race. Also, they need to hope that this race goes green, and then you see a lot of cars actually coming down pit road as we speak. And John Porzak's on pit road, Matthew Lampson's on pit road, Michael Peters on pit road, Young O and Mitchell Cracken are all on pit road right now. So this is going to work into the hands of McCracken, as Young O actually almost touches there. Mitch McCracken 2 wide down pit road. And this is going to be now the most important pit stop, and it looks like McCracken overshooting his pit box. This is important, as Young O can now gain a bit of an advantage here over Mitch McCracken. Mitch McCracken had to reverse his car, and that's going to cost him half a second, and that is going to be the difference maker. Young O gets past Mitch McCracken, and I tell you what, Chris Capo gets past Tim Dodd as well. Holgate gets past McCracken. McCracken, that was a costly costly moment there for him.
What a horrible stop from McCracken. That breaks your heart.
Yep, and that is the thing, you know, under caution, you can lose yourself a ton of time. You can also lose yourself a ton of time under green flag conditions as well. As Ryan Norton and Brandon Trainer both into the road, we have a caution, and this is going to be hugely important now. As we've got cars on pit road, this could actually work huge into the favour of Ryan Norton and Brandon Trainer, so I think they'll get themselves back out into the race lead.
Let's see. Well, Mattinson was wrecked on the pits, but I don't think that's what brought out the yellow.
No, it was Budweiser. Budweiser hit the wall in coming out of 3 and went in and hit the inside wall and just spun across the track, and that was it for him.
Yeah, and this is well, cars were swarming out pit road as well. Weiser getting himself a little bit loose on the entry of turn 1, hits the wall, bam, into the wall he goes, and then he comes out onto the track. I mean, look, I don't think any other cars were involved in that, but our 4th caution of the day here today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I'm just trying to figure out where this is going to feed the cars, and whether or not it looks as though that Ryan Norton might luck out and assume the race lead here.
He might. Let's see. Has he made his pit stop yet? If he hasn't,
yes, he did.
He did. Okay, that's going to be good for him, because had he not, and he had to pit. Oh.
I tell you what, if that caution came out 15 seconds earlier, he would have been stuffed.
Hey, Will. I think David Sockrider's in the pits. Was he involved in something?
He didn't take fuel. We just got confirmation he forgot to take fuel there. So he had to come back onto pit road. He was almost out. And that might give him a black flag penalty as well. That's going to be 3 times costly there for David Sockrider. And Sockrider had himself a good race up until that point. And that's one of those rookie errors that you do not want to make in a race of this magnitude. Always make sure that you guys put fuel into the car and making sure they top it all the way up to the top.
Oh, and David now saying he's taking a tow. He's just pulling out now, but very, very costly. Meanwhile, Terry Matheson, I'm not sure what happened with that, but he ended up sideways for a significant portion of time in the pits. I don't know if he was having problems with the gearbox.
It looked like he missed his pit stall, locked the brakes up, and Kerry Bettenhausen just plowed him because he had nowhere to go. So yeah, that's as the yellow came out, that's what I was watching, and I was sure that didn't bring out the yellow, but that's what happened there. It looks like Mattinson just locked up, slid sideways, and Kerry Bettenhausen spun him around.
So we had 2 separate incidents there, which concluded our 4th caution of the day. Terry Mattinson is working a damaged car there around the racetrack there in the number 8 Red Bull Vantage Autosports car. At the moment, we're under our 4th caution. We're going to give it a lap or so to sort it out, but by my watch, I've got a feeling it is Ryan. No, it's not.
No, I think he's going to get the wave around.
Yeah, they've lucked out big time, and Young O is currently classified on our screen as a race leader. And we'll get confirmation of this in a moment, but Paul, we talked about how that was almost going to be perfect for Ryan Norton. I've got a very bad feeling that they might have actually exited a closed pit, is what might be coming into my head right now.
Very possible. A lot of things going on right now. We're going to have to keep an eye and see what comes out with this. I'm trying to listen to the radio chatter now to figure out what's happening.
But as it stands on our watch, it's Young O from Chris Cato from Tim Dahl from Tim Holgate from Mitch McCracken. When you put that into the big picture, Aaron, that mistake from Mitch McCracken, hugely costly.
Oh man, in the pre-race I said he was my pick, and I said, you know, he's had those slight mistakes all the previous oval races, just a slight mistake, and he's been saying he's going to get one of these races, going to go clean all the way, but now he has his work cut out for him, going to be in 5th place, and we mentioned earlier, his car doesn't seem to like the dirty air. Maybe he's made an adjustment. We'll see.
Paul, have you got an update for us?
Nothing so far. I'm having some radio troubles. Now, Ryan is trying to figure out how it is he's not... I think we've got some sort of issue with the flagman here.
I went back, and the yellow flag came out when Norton was in his pit stall. And he looks like he beat the pace car out. Or did he? No, the pace car got out. That's what happened.
pace car got out ahead.
Ahead of him, but he's scored the leader at that point in time.
And now he scored in 21st, I believe we're looking at. And he's got the wave around now. He's on his way back around to the rear of the field along with Brendan Trino.
So we'll settle it down. The lights are off on the iRacing.com pace car. So Young O will bring the field back to Green Flag Racing here today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The important story is, however, that Ryan Norton and Brandon Trainer, who we thought were going to come out in the race lead and luck out, they would have likely come back out around the 4th and 5th position. They currently scored in 21st and 22nd, respectively, as the last of the cars on the lead lap. So, Young O from Chris Cahoe, from Tim Doyle, from Tim Holgate, from Mitch McCracken, they are your top 5. Then Michael Peters, Nefri Ark, Matthew Lamberton, and David Judson. Car 639, Michael Chin, rounding out your top 10. The 16th Street Racing League, Indianapolis 400 on Glacier TV. We'd like to, of course, thank once again our sponsors for this race, Ultra Force Simulations and Panther Racing, and of course International Light Technologies as well. Pace car working its way through turn number 3, and to come in to make that hard left turn towards pit road once again. Young O will bring the field back to Green Flag Racing. We're into the second half of this race now, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is when things start to get serious. We've got ourselves 5 of the best racers at Indy up in the top 5. Young O, the 2012 Indianapolis 500 winner. Tim Doyle, the 2011 Indianapolis 500 winner. Mitch McCracken, the pole position winner for this race, the Ultra Force Sim Pole Award winner. Tim Holgate, one of the underdogs, and Chris Cahoe, one of the pure speed drivers. Pace car in, Young O accelerates, green flag in the air. We're back to racing one more time here at Indy.
And Young O gets a really good jump on the start here. It looks like McCracken is going to put, I think it's Holgate, down for 4th position now. Mitch McCracken up in the 4th.
And that's going to be important for McCracken, because the way his car has been handling in traffic, he's going to have to hope that he can either save fuel and try and pit and just do a blistering in-lap, or he's going to have to find a way of getting that car to work in traffic right now. It's O from Cahoe, from Tim Doyle, from McCracken right now. They're working their way through turn number 4 once again. For Tim Doyle, it's looking as though he is very racy behind Chris Cahoe, and he's looking now down to the inside. This is a battle for the 2nd position on the racetrack, and ladies and gentlemen, here we go again. Tim Doyle versus Young O, 1 and 2 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
He's got a little work to do to catch up, but he should be able to reel him in here next couple of.
And Young O actually almost hitting the wall as they came out of turn number 2. He just did the slightest touches there as they came out of turn number 2. There's lap traffic ahead of them. This is Terry Mattinson, who is a little off the pace there in at that 31 car, and Young O is going to catch him up, probably as they actually come down into turn 1. Look out, guys, as they work their way down the front straightaway once again. And this is important now for Young O. He's got himself a 6/10 of a second gap over Tim Doyle. So they come past the line once again. It is 6/10 of a second still as they work their way down into turn number 1 one more time. But Young O has to push now these next 4 or 5 laps to try and build a gap over Tim Doyle. If he doesn't do so, Doyle's going to be right there with him. And Cahoe only a 10th of a second further back. McCracken all over the rear wing of Chris Cahoe. So working their way down into turn number 3 once again. Holgate about 4 car lengths back, and the Nefri Ark right there in 6th position, being able to get himself past Michael Peters. But Peters looking strong as they work their way down the front straightaway once again.
And Will, looking back towards Ryan Norton and Brad Sanford, Alessia Aloma and Brendan Trino, all getting extremely racy back here. Side-by-side racing. Kerry Bettenhausen now and Doug Learley and Al Nagy also kind of dicing it up. But I was going to mention, you know, this kind of situation, this is where frustration can start to creep into your driving. You know, you had a little bit of a problem, you got a little bit of a bad break, and man, I tell you, it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep their cool and just drive the car.
And Peters, I'll tell you what, putting that pressure on Nefri Ark once again. Behind them, we need to check in on Norton and Trainer. Norton is currently sat himself in the 19th position. Trainer is currently sat in the 21st spot. In fact, Norton now up into the 18th position by the looks of it on the racetrack. But they're in a huge huge gaggle of cars. Look how free wide there as they work their way down into turn number 1. They just about survived. You have Valesky over there on the inside line. He might have got himself a little bit of damage there because he is slow on the inside line. But they were free wide as they worked their way. And you had Aloma, Matinton and Sanford. Sanford was able to get the better of it as they worked their way out of turn number 1. Aloma is slow there as they come out, and he loses himself a ton of positions. Aloma is all the way down almost into about the 29th position on the racetrack, and that was hugely costly. And Aloma's going to spin it around almost there. He's going to bring that car down to pit road. He has got himself some damage to that 13 Maestro ID car, and it looks like Aloma is now out of contention.
Yeah, Aloma has some rear wing damage. Terry Mathiasen is still on the track. I don't know if Race Control is going to let that continue. That's what started this whole thing, is he is much farther off the pace from the damage he got in pit road. Wait to see what Race Control does with this.
Yeah, Aloma straight into his pit box there. Meanwhile, having a look at the battle for the 12th position on the racetrack, this is Andrew King and John Paulzak going hammer and tongue as they work their way down the front runway. Once again, you've got Andrew King there as well, and Brian Simpson working himself down, and so Michael Chin and Paulzak really putting on a show right now. This is a battle for the 10th and 11th positions now, sorry, on the racetrack, as King losing himself 2 positions on the racetrack. And Chin still looking strong, despite his moment earlier on in this race. But Paulzak now starting to come into the picture, and he's kind of not being talked about at all in this race. But that number 27 Red Bull car now starting to get himself a bit tuned up into the racetrack. Perhaps he's been able to use these previous couple of pit stops to adjust the balance on his race car.
And McCracken, meanwhile, up to P3. But yeah, John Paulzak, yeah, he may have made some adjustments to the last pit stop there. Maybe made a wing adjustment, and looks like he has picked up some speed.
So it's still Youngo from Tim Doyle, from McCracken now from Cahill. And I tell you what, McCracken all over the rear of Tim Doyle as they're working their way through turn number 3 once again. And McCracken's car wasn't working in traffic very well early on in this race. Right now it seems to be working a little bit better. Perhaps he's been able to sort out that balance as well in that number 1 Denmark car.
I'm sorry, Nagy and Nagy and Lambertson just about got into each other. I'm sorry, not Nagy, it's Og and Lambertson. Og got loose, came across, almost collected Lambertson. Luckily, Lambertson saw it coming.
And Youngo, Tim Doyle still working their way around the racetrack. And I have to say, McCracken really is looking strong as they're working their way down. Oh, look at this. Tim Doyle might be looking down to the inside of Youngo as they come out of turn number 4. These 3 drivers are so closely matched on the racetrack at the moment. And whilst this is all going on, Chris Cahill behind him is falling back a little bit. But Tim Doyle had half a chance there to try and go for the race lead over Youngo. And I tell you what, this battle right now will go all the way to the last corner of the last lap.
It absolutely will. These guys are going to be fighting tooth and nail for every centimeter of the track, and it's only going to get more and more intense as this goes on. I mean, we're on lap 102 now, 163. Or I'm sorry, 160, and yeah, already it's starting. We still got another stop to go.
And this race very well could come down to that last stop. Maybe that's what McCracken is doing. Previous lap, McCracken probably could have made a run on Doyle, as Doyle didn't go for the lead, but McCracken just stayed there. Maybe he's now playing the field, being that 3rd car in line as he gets so close to Doyle in turn 1.
A little bit further back through the field, you've still got this battle going on between Michael Chin, John Paulzak and Andrew King. Chin in the 10th position, John Paulzak 11th, Andrew King in the 12th spot. And I tell you what, Paulzak can get close, but he doesn't seem to be able to complete the pass there on Michael Chin. And it looks as though a lot of these cars here today is just suffering from a little bit of turning understeer, Paul. And it looks like it makes life difficult for them to try and complete the pass.
Yeah, you scrub up some speed trying to rein it in, and it puts you at a disadvantage coming out of the corner. So there's no way you can make a run. You have no choice but to stick back there. Something I wanted to mention: a couple of cars we haven't really talked about much. Cahill and Holgate hanging with the leaders here. Going to be interesting to see what becomes of this. They're kind of, in my mind at least, are a couple of dark horses. We'll have to see what they're doing.
Keeping an eye on Norton Watch, of course. he was shuffled all the way back down into the 20th position on the racetrack as a result of that caution. He is now currently scored in the 16th position. He's got a 3-second gap to close to Randy Freeman and Matt Gaggle of cars. Last time by a 39.401 for Ryan Norton, a 39.3 for Randy Freeman, and Norton hasn't got the benefit of having cars drafted him right now, especially as his teammate Brandon Traynor is about 5 cars back, and in fact he's going to go another cut position loss because he's just getting overtaken by Doug Leroy. I think there's a little bit of damage there to Brandon Traynor's car because it really is struggling at the moment. He's almost going to lose another position there. In fact, he is going to lose position to Al Nagy.
Yeah, Brandon Traynor has some left front wing damage, just a little bit, but the car has picked up a wicked push, and he's just losing a lot of time in the corners. So, real bad break for Traynor. Had a real fast car, and I think he's just going to have to just hold on and see what he can do.
And as they're working their way out of turn number 4 once again, Traynor really struggling. And when you consider the fact that 2 cars always work better than 1, right now Norton needed to have Traynor behind him.
McCracken came loose, and I think it was Cahill hit the wall.
And I tell you what,
Tim Doyle
damage.
Tim Doyle saying he hit the limiter. He slowed up suddenly, and McCracken had to check up and darn near lost it coming out of 2.
Yeah, and there's some damage to Mitch McCracken's car as well. And it was a free, and Tim Holgate was involved in that as well. And that is going to be, that is, Mitch McCracken is definitely now going to have to get himself some damage repaired to his race car. As it stands at the moment, it looks as though that Tim Doyle is on new race leader, McCracken in second. Young O is now down into the 3rd position on the racetrack.
Yeah, amazing set of events here. Kind of figure out what happened with Young O. He wasn't really involved in any of that, but he just ended up slow coming out of 4th. Aaron, do you got anything?
I am trying to go back and see what happened. What a bizarre turn of events here in a quick amount of time. Let's see. Young O was doing on lap 106, 230 into turn 3, and then out of turn 3, he goes down to 210 miles an hour.
Yeah, and it looks as though that all started to say, it seems as though the one car hit the limiter, and then they all kind of shuffled together, and McCracken has got some damage to his race car. We'll try, and if you have a look on his rear wing, there is some damage. In fact, we'll try and go on board with Young and reverse that camera 180 degrees to look at the front of McCracken's car, and you do see that there is some damage to the front of that. And that is going to be tremendously difficult now for McCracken to handle that car around the racetrack, especially the fact that you rely on all the aero parts.
And you can see already McCracken's starting to fall back a little bit. And it looks like whatever happened with O is he's recovered, and he's all over Tim Doyle now. But yeah, what a bizarre set of circumstances. I guess from the radio chatter, McCracken just hit the limiter, and KO just plowed into him. You're that close together. One little thing like that, and that's what's going to happen.
And McCracken is starting to suffer a little bit now, and it's slightly disappointing there for McCracken because, you know, Aaron, he was your pick for the race, but that car, if he can drop back to about 7 tenths behind, he'll lose that aero push, and I think he'll be okay to run by himself. He's got himself a 2-second gap to Michael Peters. He right now either needs a caution or a pit stop or both.
Yeah, he's going to need a pit stop. They are going to be able to repair the front wing, but the rear wing, I don't believe they're going to be able to fix. So that little twist of the end plate there is going to remain with him, which, in my experience, usually loosens the car up and usually takes about 1 or 2 miles an hour off top speed. So, yeah, he needs a yellow. He needs that wing replaced. But even with that, he might have a top 5 car, but when it comes down to the win with that little bit of damage, I don't know.
You know, and Will, I'm looking back at this incident again. Tim Doyle was the first one to slow down. I don't know if he got loose or if he hit the limiter or what the heck happened, but he suddenly slowed down. McCracken nailed him, and then KO nailed McCracken.
Yeah, I think with Tim Doyle, actually, he's out front right now, but I'm just trying to think how much damage is there to that one car of Mitch McCracken. I mean, he's still doing, his last lap was a 39.462. That car does seem to be handling okay in the racetrack, but another bit of bad luck from Mitch McCracken there.
Yeah, he just can't seem to He can have a 95% good race, but there's always just something that pops up, which we can go back this race. Him missing his pit stall. If he didn't do that, he would have been in front of that, and that wouldn't have happened. So that slight mistake put him back to be in that unfortunate situation, which this time, as fast as you're going into turn 2, 228, 229 miles an hour, there was nothing he could do.
It is currently Tim Dahl leading the way from Young O. This is a repeat of the 2011 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. Mitch McCracken has damage and is now falling into the clutches of Michael Peters. This last lap, a 39.665, and he's been slow in these previous couple of laps. He's trying to get a balance back to that race car, but he's now losing 3-4 tenths per second a lap, and is falling into the clutches of Michael Peters as Nefriag now looking down to the inside of Peters as they come down into turn number 3. Arg once again becoming a factor here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I'll tell you what, Paul, we'll talk about, go on, finish your O.
Sorry. Judson and so it was Judson and Peters just about got into each other there, and but a good drive by Og to make that pass. And Peters just a little bit wide, and it looked like Judson was just going to try it, but I don't think Peterson saw him there.
And right now, I have to say that Og, once again, Panther Racing. When you put Panther Racing to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I mean, what you put 2011, 2010, 2009, 2008, always they are a very big factor. It looks like the sim racing team right now is following along with that. You've got yourself Nefriag, a picture right now. You had Chris Cahill until about 5 laps ago, a picture in this race. And it looks as though that although Cahill's day is pretty much done, he's just handed that baton over now to Nefriag, and he is now looking to get himself into the top 3. He's going to try and make the move on Mitch McCracken as they come down the back straightaway. As they come out of turn number 2, he's definitely going to have to make the move now as he goes to the outside line. McCracken knows that he's slower, and he's just going to let both of them go past there. And this is now damage limitation for Mitch McCracken as they work away down into turn number 3 once again. Dave Judson's going to have to slot in the line, but he'll probably be able to make the move on the front straightaway. And his caution is out, and that was the worst time there for McCracken. If he just held on a couple of corners, he would have actually been able to stay in the 3rd position. And Al Nagy is out of the race, and Brad Sanford is out of the race as well.
Oh, tough break for Brad Sanford. Al Nagy got super tight out of 2, hit the wall, rebounded down, and just clipped Sanford, who then spun up the track and took out Martin Miller. So unfortunate break for Miller and Sanford as Al Nagy precipitated that crash out of 2.
Yeah, what a shame for those two guys. They were having a nice clean race, just kind of minding their own business, and yeah, just Martin Miller just got nailed and just went up into
Finished, but Tim Dahl is still your race leader. Caution back out on the speedway for the 5th time here today. Tim Dahl, your race leader. Young O in 2nd, Nefriag 1st, Michael Peters in 4th, Mitch McCracken running out your top 5. And a tough luck there for Al Nagy because he's been trying to get himself back into the lead lap. And unfortunately, his day is going to be done on that number 44 car. Aaron, you talked about how points might not come into some people's mind in this race. For Al Nagy, he's one of those people going for a decent top 10 finish in the championship. He would have wanted one.
Yeah, points don't matter until they do. I don't believe that's the best line I've ever said, but it's true. Going into the race, you want to win, but when something bad happens, yeah, all of a sudden you're going, boy, today could have been a good points race. Let's see where other people are finishing. So, yeah, all of a sudden points do matter. For the drivers still in the top 5, they're not thinking about points, but as soon as something happens, you are thinking about points. And I was just about to say before that yellow came out, as we do have cars going down pit lane, that if a yellow flag doesn't come out, it's a Doyle and O battle to the end. But now all that's washed aside. Let's see who gets out of the pits first.
What people at Nefriag right now need the pit stop of their lives. We'll keep an eye on McCracken after he comes out and see whether he gets any damage repaired to his race car. He'll need to get a new front wing if at all possible. But having a look as they're coming out of pit road, it looks as though Tim Dahl is going to get the race. It's going to be so close, a drag race, and just will keep it there. And I tell you what, Art loses 2 positions out in pit road as well. And it looks like McCracken finally does get out of pit road. He might have had to take some repairs to get his wing replaced, but that was mighty close there between Young O and Tim Doyle. O gets out in front, then Tim Doyle, and I'm having a look back through to see the exact order, but I tell you what, Young O, once again, the master on pit road, as it's Peters now in 3rd place, then Dave Judson, and then Nefriarg.
You said Og needed the pit stop of his life. He was running 3rd. Now he's going to be 5th. And Michael Peters, who has come from the, let's see, I believe the 27th starting position, which, you know, that's what he did at Homestead at the start of the year. He started way back in the field. We never said anything about him. And then in the last 30 laps, he showed up, and now he's going to have a chance. Let's see if he has anything for Doyle or O.
2 cars decided not to pit there, Randy Freeman and Ryan Norton. And for Norton right now, he's going to have to hope the rest of this race goes his way. But the issue is, there's 43 laps until the end of the race. For Norton, he needs a caution in the next 8 or 9 laps that he can top up, put fuel in, and then everyone's on the same strategy once again. Otherwise, he's going to lose out once more time.
And here's a question, what's our fuel window? If you pit on 1 to green, if there's a couple yellows, can you make it?
It's going to be mighty close. Last time we checked, it was about 32 to 34 laps would give you a tank of fuel. If you had 2 more cautions and you knew how to use the clutch, you might just be able to make it. But Paul, this is Indy, and we're into a position right now where we could end up in a fuel-saving race.
Couple more laps of yellow, and absolutely, but you know these guys right now are doing whatever they can to try and save every drop of fuel in the car. And you know, like I said the last time this happened, it's anybody's race now. And I say we got Ryan Norton up there. He needs some help. He needs some help with the flagman. But if he can get a break, then it's anybody's race again.
Yep, and Randy Freeman lights are out on the Irishman.com pace car once again. So Randy Freeman will bring the field back to green flag racing. Ryan Norton in 2nd, Young O in 3rd, Tim Doyle 4th, Michael Peters 5th, Dave Judson, Nefriarg, Courtney Terrell, Matthew Lamberton, and John Paurzak rounding out your top 10. We haven't talked much about Lamberton and especially Courtney Terrell, but these 2 guys into the top 10, you can't really discount these 2 out from the race either.
Lambertson always very quick. And we're getting to the portion of the race now where, you know, Matthew Lamberton and, you know, John Paurzak are both going to kind of throw caution to the wind and just hammer down. It's time to go. And for these guys, they want to get a little further up to the front. They don't want to lose touch with the guys in front. And so you may see some aggressive driving coming into the green here.
Yep, and very quickly, Aaron, in many people's eyes, it's go time.
It's go time, especially if you are Peters or Judson. If you're going to have a chance at this win, I think you got to try to get around Doyle and O while they have Norton and Freeman in front of them. So I think all that give and take we saw in the first 100 laps, throw that out the window. It's going to get cutthroat.
So here we go with the pace car is in now, and Randy Freeman brings the field along. Randy Freeman, Ryan Norton. Randy Freeman gets a good jump off of Ryan Norton, and Yang O back behind. Everybody kind of stringing along through turn 1, and Will, pretty good clean start here.
Yeah, very good clean start there by those drivers. In fact, Michael Peters there under attack from Dave Judson as they come out of turn number 2. Peters' car has been struggling on these restarts. We've seen this be the picture of the day. As they work their way down the back straightaway, Peters is going to try and use that draft to his advantage, going to be too wide as they come down into turn number 3 once again. But still, there is Freeman from Ryan Norton, from Young O, from Tim Doyle. That is how it stands at the moment. And Peters has now lost that position to Dave Judson. Nefriarg in the 7th position. He is looking for any opportunity now as we're approaching the final stages of this race. We're getting close now to that final pit stop window. And I tell you what, if Norton and Freeman peeled off this track in 7 laps time, they will currently be the only guys that could get to the end. And all of a sudden, they're right back into the picture.
Wow, to be able to have the unfortunate unfortunate incident which happened earlier in the race, putting at least Norton back in the pack. If that somehow works to his advantage, oh my goodness, if it works out, what a story that's going to be.
Indeed, it's Norton that completes the pass on Randy Freeman, putting him back into the race lead. And now Norton in the 84 Broken Arrow car is leading the way from Randy Freeman. The gap between these two drivers just 12/100ths of a second on the racetrack. Young-O a further 3 tenths back, then Tim Doyle a further half second back in 4th. Peters into the 5th position once again, as it looks like Dave Judson losing 2 positions there to both Peters and Nefriarg. And to work their way down into turn number 3 one more time. Now it is Arg all over the rear of Michael Peters in the 33 cars. They're working their way out of turn number 4. Behind them, you've got action going on. Joe Bryant, of course, we talked about him earlier on this race. He's trying to catch a huge pack with Michael Chin, John Paulson, Courtney Taylor, Matthew Lambertson, and Dave Judson down to the inside 1 and 2. He touches Peters into the wall. Caution will be out, and now this is going to be, is it going to go green? Is it going to stay green? Is it going to stay green? It might just, if he can get down. Now
Yellow.
The caution will be out. Now the caution's out.
Oh, what a terrible break for Peters. I mean, I tell you, he had the car, and it's just, you know, you almost kind of saw it coming with those guys dicing so hard in the back.
The big winner of that yellow, Brian Norton.
No,
That's right.
No, it's not. Because everyone now comes back down towards pit road. Norton has to take a full tank of fuel. Freeman has to take a full tank of fuel. Everyone else just tops up. They're all going back down the order. Norton needed that race to stay green.
That is correct. My mistake. Still, he might gain a little bit more spots than when he was mired in the back. But yeah, my mistake there. Yeah, if this race went green all the way, he was going to be the one. So, well, we'll see where he comes out. He definitely won't be leading. But what do you think? Will he maintain maybe 5th, 6th, 7th, or will he be further back than that?
It'll all depend. It will all depend on this sequence of pit stops. And having looked back at that incident with Dave Judson there and Michael Peters, they were so close. And we talked earlier about how Judson had a bit of a higher arc into turn number 1. You're down on the inside line, you have to take a bit of an arc, otherwise you just clip the kind of inside and you never make the corner at all without slowing all the way down. But it just looks like he tagged Peters the tiniest amount. Peters got his car all square, he tried to keep it out of the wall. No way he's going to avoid it. And that's going to be hugely annoying for him. Meanwhile, this is now the most important moment of the race so far for these drivers. They've done the 3-wide start. They've got through lap number 1. They've had all of these pit stops. But now they need to make sure they nail this pit stop, because it could determine everything they do from here on in. Ryan Norton is going to bring that car down towards pit road. We expect everyone to come in with him, as they are indeed all now filing down pit road. No one is going to take the risk and do the biggest fuel-saving race of their lives. All of them coming down pit road. We're going to keep an eye out on drivers. Norton's got himself a nice advantage as they come onto pit road. And then it is Freeman from Young-O, from Tim Doyle, from Dave Judson. They are your top 5. This is the critical factor now. We're going to keep an eye on the exit pit road. It's Judson overshoots his pit box. I saw that very briefly on my screen. So he could be out of the picture now. And that's going to help out drivers like Nefriag.
Doyle overshot his pit and had to back up. He's going to be a couple of seconds slow.
And Young-O walks it. And Judson comes out second. Tim Doyle loses out big time. Nefriag loses out a little bit. It looks as though right now it is going to be Young-O from Dave Judson bringing the field back to this restart. And what a showing there by Dave Judson.
And Courtney Terrell, I show him 3rd car out. Wow.
What a great stop by Courtney. Tim Holgate stayed out. Looks like he's on the point right now.
And I think for some of these drivers, some of them might have taken tyres, some of them might not have taken tyres. Just a splash with no tyres takes about 3 seconds. To take tyres takes about 6 seconds. The question's going to be, Paul, did you want to take tyres or not?
I don't think you're really going to suffer that much by not taking tires at this point. The tire compound on these cars at this track, very resilient. You can pretty much get away with it. So I don't think it's going to make that huge of a difference.
So let's check in with all of the people we picked before the start of this race to go towards Victory Road. We'll start with Young O, and right now, Aaron, he's perfectly in the catbird seat. And we've seen before, when Young O can lead a race from the front, there's almost no one who can stop him.
Yep, I am regretting my pick now. I should have gone with him. He knows how to get these races done, and well, now he'll have Holgate in front of him, which Holgate's gonna need some yellows, another yellow or two, or he's gonna have to save fuel. So really, right now, if the race goes green, I believe Young O does have the most. Is gonna beat Holgate won't be able to make it, but yeah, Young O. At this point in time, you cannot bet against him. Race leading with less than 40 to go, he's the choice.
And then Tim Doyle, that is going to be hugely costly for him there. Especially as he's not going to be able to get past these drivers as easily as early on in this race. Right now, everyone is going to make his life tough as he tries to charge his way back to the front.
That they are, as we said on the last restart, it's go time. Nobody's going to give an inch now, and unfortunately for Tim, he now has Porzak, Chin, Terrell, and Judson between himself and Young O.
And very quickly, Paul, for Dave Judson, he's got the opportunity of his life right now. He's sat pretty much in a net second position. All he needs to do is wait for, and this is going to of course be a rarity, one mistake from Young O, he could win the Indy 400.
He's in an excellent position, and you know, we have not seen the absolute dominance from Young O that we've seen in previous races. People are able to keep up with him, and you know, Dave Judson, I think he has pretty close to the fastest lap of the race. Brendan Traino 39.073, but fastest lap of the race for him 39.102. He is to Yang O's 38.820, because you know Yang O's Yang O, but still has plenty of speed to give, and I think if he can stay in touch, he might be able to give O a run for his money.
And of course, you've got also in the mix David Ward, who is one lap down. He, however, is going to peel towards pit road as the caution ends, and then it'll be Tim Holgate from Young O, from Dave Judson, from Courtney Tell, from Michael Chin. You ready, everyone?
Oh yeah. This is gonna be good, and you have several drivers up there that were looking for a decent finish, and now they have a shot at this win.
Pace car going to make that turn down towards pit road once again. Tim Holgate from Young O, from Dave Judson. Green flag back in the air. Holgate accelerates up, and it looks as though that Young O is going to get himself a very sluggish start there. He cannot pass David Ward until now. Now he does so, and that has cost him dearly. Caution is back out because of that. Caution is back out because of that, and all that does, however, is help out Holgate.
Yeah, they saw that happening. I don't know what Ward was doing. I think he was trying to get into the pits, but decided not to. I don't know what the
pit road would have been closed for him.
Yeah, but Ward is so far down at this point. He did mention he was going to get out of the way, and he didn't. So it's, I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, that's annoying for a couple of these drivers, but Holgate, it's like it does help him in the 6 car. But this gives Young O another shot. It also gives Dave Judson another shot, and also now Holgate's going to have to think of another time to go because Young O is going to be expecting that next time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if Holgate does get a jump out, though, it's not going to be very long. Sorry, I'm listening to the radio while things are going on here. Yeah, I don't think O's going to get caught out again. I think what caught him out was that Ward was actually in front of him. And I'm not sure if he anticipated what Ward was doing. I'm not sure what he was expecting him to do, but I think he was expecting him to go on the pits because he was moving his way in there.
And so Holgate still leading the way. Young O second, Dave Judson third, Courtney Tell fourth, Michael Chin fifth. The restart there waved off by race control, so they'll remain under the pace car for the next couple of laps or so. They're just waiting for the pace car, and you see here how slowly Holgate is going. And this is how
yellow.
Yeah, you see how slow he's going. The pace car is all the way up in turning 3 and 4. Holgate is cruising himself on the back straightaway. He is saving every ounce of fuel he can right now. Holgate knows that now this is his one chance trying to take control of this race, and he's using this caution really to his advantage, try and get himself as much fuel in his tank as possible.
That he is. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I say, and this is the caution that Holgate needed. But again, a lot of these guys, we were looking at a little over, I think it was what, 38 laps of the green flag. Now it's going to be 34, I believe. My math is correct. 33. Well within one tank. So what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do? But, once again, this is Indy. And for Holgate right now, he is trying to get the cards to work in his favour. And I always compare a long race like this to playing poker when you don't even know what your cards are. You chuck the chips in, and you hope that you have the right hand at the end. And for Tim Holgate, he's just throwing the chips in and hoping it goes in his direction. Owen second, I still think, given half a chance, O can make the faster race lead. But for Dave Judson, this could work to his advantage as well, because O gets stuck behind Holgate. You know how these cars work in dirty air, and Judson could find that moment, and we know how aggressive, cautiously aggressive, I say, Judson can be in situations like this. He knows he will go for every opportunity he sees.
And earlier in the race, we saw some give and take with him. Right now, though, he is going to have to get around O as fast as possible if he wants a chance at this one. If O gets out in front, oh man, does anybody have enough to touch him? Doyle probably, but Tim Doyle's down in 7th with that pit road mistake. So definitely it's Young O's race to win, but if Dave Judson can get around him, let's say O goes for a pass on Holgate, doesn't complete it, loses the momentum, then all of a sudden Judson's going to be able to pounce, and maybe Judson can bring Terrell and Chin with him. So O's going to have to time his pass just right to make sure that he doesn't have a botched pass attempt, lose that momentum, and give Dave Judson the position.
Yep, and we're going to get probably about a lap and a quarter left of caution, but I'm going to ask you one more time. You have the chance to change. This is your lucky moment, Aaron. Who's going to win? Well, being able to change my pick doesn't come around every time, so I'm going to make the most of it. Young O's going to take this victory. Paul?
Well, yeah, I think Young O's going to do it. What I would like to see is Judson do it.
Yep, I too pledge allegiance to the underdog, so therefore, Dave Judson. Going back win. Alex Harlow will come from the back and take the win. He's only 71 laps down, Yoni. But yeah. Lights are still on the pace car. This is now really helping out Holgate, and this is putting him into the window where he'll make it.
Yeah, Holgate's very happy to see those lights still on. I'm not sure how many more laps are going to happen to this yellow here, but yeah, every lap they're pacing is just another lap on the books that Holgate can push a little harder on that accelerator.
And having a look back further through the field as well, Tim Doyle sat in the 7th position. He's got Polzak and Chin and Tell to get past. Those three drivers are no slouches at all. We talked about how Polzak's cautiously made his way into the top 10. For some of these drivers right now, they've got a shot. I tell you what though, the guy sat in 9th position, he is going to be on a relentless charge. And the guy starting ahead of him, known for being perhaps one of the most aggressive drivers in the field, Matthew Lamberton, that's going to be interesting to watch.
And we're on board with Tim Holgate now. We're trying to listen to see if Holgate is running along on, and it does. He does sound like he's just kind of riding along with the clutch in, just occasionally burping along just to kind of keep things moving along. But yeah, doing everything he can to save every cup of fuel in that tank.
Yep, and it reminds me of Tony Stewart actually in Chicagoland in the 2011 Chase for the Sprint Cup. And you can save a lot of fuel around here if you know how. Many people try out different tactics, and under green flag conditions you can do so as well. And that's one of the things as well. I mean, even if you're leading the race, there is actually a chance to save a little bit of fuel. You make sure you run that car in the middle of the racetrack and make it difficult to route past on the inside. You can save a little bit of fuel. To go back a little bit further as well, you've got Nefriag and Joe Branch. Nefriag, that pit stop really did cost him as well. He's fallen all the way back to the last car in the top 10. Joe Branch, that strategy, that caution, I think really did hurt him. Because he's all the way down in 11th at the moment, and I think he was expecting to be solidly in the top 10. So for Branch, suffering a little bit. Trainer, despite his damage, as the lights finally go off on the iRacing.com pace car, Trainer, bit of a dark horse, he should be able to get himself into the top 10 as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got a fast enough car right now. It did take some damage. He is a little bit off the pace. Really unfortunate for him, but he's making hay of what he can in 12th, and you know, I think Treno is a contention for the top 5. We'll have to see how that car handles in traffic.
So Tim Holgate bringing the field back to Green Flag Racing. Young O second, Dave Judson third, Courtney Tellon in fourth, Michael Chin rounding out your top 5. With then John Paurzak in 6th, Tim Doyle in 7th, Matthew Lambert in 8th, Ryan Norton 9th, and Neff Young rounding out your top 10. Very quickly, Paul. This is really the kind of butterfly moment. You've got yourself 130 laps into this race. You've got 30 to go. And from here on in, it's all about who is the better driver under pressure. And it's, you know, people watching right now, everyone's looking at them. You don't want to make a mistake now, do you?
Yeah, this would not be the good time to bunch it up. You know, you talk about what's going through their mind. Tim Holgate, how do I make my car 50 feet wide? Young O, just waiting to pounce. The best position in the house, Young O. It's he's got the opportunity to make the move. Dave Judson just hoping that they make a mistake and he can capitalize and get out front.
So, once again, the iRacing.com pace car going to make that turn down towards pit road. There are no lapped cars in the way this time, thankfully. So, it's going to be a clean run down into turn number 1. Holgate from Young O, once again, waiting for the pace car to dart to the left one more time. Will this be the last caution? We all hope so. Tim Holgate bringing up the speed one more time. O in second, Judson in third. Back to Green Flag Racing. And I tell you what, it was a good start by all but Paurzak there, who had Tim Doyle overtake him on the outside on that run down into turn number 1.
Yeah, Paurzak got a lousy restart on that and was taken over pretty quickly by Doyle. Doyle is
Young O to the inside, sorry. Young O going for the lead. And
He's fast. Yeah, he's way fast. So all of the fuel saving, everything else with Tim Holgate, it's over. You know, I said this about 10 minutes ago. As soon as Young O gets ahead, there are very few people who can find a way past. He's immersed in that race car. Now Young O has to hope that Tim Doyle struggles to get past cars behind, as now Dave Judson looking down to the inside to come down into turn 1, and Judson is going to get up into second position now.
And now Judson has his work cut out for him. He's got to keep up with O. If O gets away from him, it's all over. He's got to get up to him.
The next 3 laps are the most important laps that Dave Judson has of this entire season. Can he hang in the draft?
And Holgate is going backwards. Now he allows Courtney Tell to go past. So Holgate falling back into 4th. Perhaps all the fuel saving didn't work out for him there. He might have gone, he was a little bit short. He had to save in the pack. But it's Young O leading the way now from Dave Judson. The gap as they come past the line is up to about 3.5 tenths of a second. And now Judson has to push every single lap. O last time by was a full tenth of a second faster. Judson has to get that car working. He has to get the momentum if he's going to have any chance of battling for this race lead. They come down the back straight once again, and it's Courtney Tell now up into the 3rd position as Michael Chin moves himself up now into the 4th position. And I tell you what, it looks as though that Judson is slowly closing.
Judson's got the car dialed in.
Telltale split right here. This is going to be it. If he doesn't close in this lap, it's pretty much Young O's going to drive away. Let's see what it is.
It's down. Oh, it's up by 5 thousandths of a second. Dave Judson did a 39.486 and Young O a 39.461. Judson needs to push harder, but if you can get Courtney Tell up behind him, this could be the critical factor, because 2 cars, as always, works better than 1. So, Young O was able to gain 5 1,000ths of a second that last lap. Now, if Courtney Tell can get up to the rear of Dave Judson, perhaps those two could work together to close down the 23 car of Young O. But this right now is Young O's race to lose, and the guys behind him are going to have to do everything in their power to get up. As Tim Doyle now up into the top 5 and looking to try and make the move on Michael Chin as they're working their way down into turn number 1. Tim Doyle stays behind, but he's got to get himself past Michael Chin and up into this bout in the next 5 or 10 laps, or it is going to be over for him as well. Tim Doyle is looking as though he's going to try and make a move at some point, facing
Yellow flag.
back out.
Oh, yellow flag. This is going to
Mitch
change the
McCracken
complexion.
in Senate.
Not and Mitch McCracken and Kevin Kress as well. Heartbreak there, disappointment for McCracken.
McCracken had to lift. He was trying to make an inside pass, had to get out of it, and he got hit from behind, which there was really nothing that car from behind could really do, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it all stacked up there as they worked their way down into turn number 1 and 2. We'll try and get ourselves a replay of that, and the replay is coming up on your screen. And it's like Randy Freeman was working himself down, and Mitchell Cracken was on the inside line trying to overtake Kevin Crest, working way down into turn number 1. And Cracken on the inside line, he had to check up, as you said there, Aaron. He slowed that car right down to avoid slamming into the side of Kevin Crest. And then Randy Freeman wasn't able to slow down. In fact, he did slow down enough, but it's Brian Simpson behind who just ended up not being slowed down enough, and they were 3 wide at one point. Slam, around goes Mitch McCracken, around goes Kevin Crest, both of them into the wall. Game over for those two. But for Mitch McCracken in the 1 car, an Indiana resident, it just looks as though the curse of Indiana continues.
Indeed, his race, he led most of the first half of this race. One slight pit stop error got him in the middle of the pack, then a slight checkup by perhaps a rev limiter, then destroyed his front wing. He got rear wing damage, and what a sequence of unfortunate events.
And we're going to get back to green flag racing with, what, 18, 19 laps to go?
Thereabouts.
And for Tim Doyle, I mean, he did a great pass on the outside into turn number 1 last time to get past John Porzak. This time he's going to have to get a pass on Michael Chin done quickly, a pass done on Courtney Tell quickly, and then be right up on the rear of Dave Judson and see where things go from there. But time is running out now for the 11-point wins car of Tim Doyle. Time's running out for a lot of the drivers in this field, and in fact Ryan Norton went backwards on that last run, started at 9th and in this caution in 10th.
And never got a bet on that restart there. Tim Doyle, we're talking about him. It's got to happen on the first lap. You've got to get them on cold tires, or I don't think it's going to happen. Young O is just going to take off, and if Doyle can't get into the draft of Judson or anybody else and keep up with O, it's over. It's we've seen O just take off, and for that last green flag stint, maintain about a 0.3 second lead all the way around in front of Judson. Judson really not making a lot of headway, pretty much going about the same speed. So Judson's going to have to keep on the back of O if he's going to have any hope, because catching up to him, I don't think it's going to happen.
On that last restart, or on that last stint, the lap before we went yellow, Judson did catch up a little. The lead went from 3.6 to 3.3, so 300s, but still, that's not sizable. But remember, Judson did have to pass Holgate, and Young O got around him much cleaner, so that's what separated the gap. So I know we said this about Judson at a previous race, that this is going to be the restart of his life. But no, this upcoming restart is going to be the restart of his life. He cannot let Young O get more than a 0.3 of a second lead.
Of course, unless there's another caution, in which case that restart will be the restart of his life, and so on and so forth.
So true.
But for Judson, we know he's a very good restarter. I'm just thinking about things he can do. I mean, you can burn yourself a little bit of fuel in these cars. Now, of course, all these cars are technically a little bit too heavy. With the exception of Tim Holgate, he's probably now just got enough fuel to run to the end of the race. But for people like Judson and Terrell and Chin and Doyle, it's almost like they need to work together and gang up on Young O. It's like the old wrestling days when you used to get the biggest guy in the ring and everyone tries to take him out. Right now, you need everyone to try and work together so they can perhaps try and freight train Young O and put him to the back of the line. If they do that, then we've got a race on our hands. If not, O might just end up walking this.
Well, if they do start dicing with each other, O's just going to leave. And I think they really need to be thinking about that. But on the flip side, you don't want to give or take anything. The best thing they can do is for Judson and Terrell and Holgate to get behind each other and just try to keep everything in line, and you know, try, just as you said, try and freight train them and try and get them, try and just catch up and pass them with the draft. But then again, if you get beside anybody, if they try fighting at all, Yang's going to be gone.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. Really tough. And, of course, for Young O, he's just got to make sure he times that restart perfectly. Light it off on the iRacing.com pace car one more time. Paul, what do you think is going to happen?
It's now or never for Judson. If he lets Yang O get any sort of jump on him, it's lights out. Unless we get another caution. I mean, that can happen. All these guys all the way back are fighting tooth and nail. Anything can happen. But I think if it goes green, Judson has to be on the gearbox of O, or it's not going to happen.
So, Young O working himself now down into turn number 3 again, behind the iRacing.com pace car. Dave Judson in the 2nd position, Courtney Tell in 3rd, Michael Chin 4th, Tim Doyle in 5th, Tim Holgate 6th, Matthew Lamberton 7th, John Paurzak 8th, Nephi Arg 9th, and Ryan Norton rounding out your top 10. We still have 19 cars on the lead lap. Cars 1 lap down, we have Andrew King. 2 laps down, we have David Sockrider, Kevin Kress. Mitchell Kraken is technically scored 2 laps down, but of course is out of the race. And we're now waiting for that pace car to come down towards pit road for what will probably be the final time here today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is now officially go time. Pace car goes in. Young O immediately picking up the pace. Judson getting an okay start, but he needs a little bit better than that. Terrell gets himself a good start, Chin a good start, and Tim Doyle a bit of a sluggish start there. They're all working their way back down into turn number 1 once again. I'll tell you what, Terrell actually very close behind Dave Judson as they come down into turn number 2. Lamberton, a good start by him. Paul's like a bit sluggish. Nefriag and Ryan Norton, they're also a little bit sluggish as well. The field separated out behind them, but the battle for the race lead, Dave Judson, Young O, and Judson once again has to push. This time, however, he has Courtney Taylor behind him who can help punch that hole through the air so he can try and close that gap to Young O. As they come down the front trailer once again, we'll get confirmation to come past the yard of bricks with Courtney Taylor actually looking down to the inside as they come down into turn number 1. Terrell is going to move himself up into the 2nd position. Where did that come from? And Courtney Terrell is up into 2nd.
You know who's loving this? Our race leader. He wants to see them go back and forth, put slide jobs, crossovers. Heck, he wants to see him go 3 wide as Michael Chin closes up. But Young O now sailing away. But now Dave Judson not going to fight back. He's now going to help push Terrell. And let's see if the 2 of them can work their way back up to O.
Yep, and we've got ourselves 20 laps left to go at the line of this, the 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400 live and exclusive on GlacierTV. The gap as they come past the start-finish line is 4/10 of a second, and Judson actually there. His car got a lot higher as he worked himself through turn number 1. That's going to help Young O out a little bit more, but I tell you what, Courtney Taylor's car looking very strong now as he's trying to close that gap down to the 23 of Young O. We'll get confirmation to come back past the line once again. But where did Courtney Taylor come from, Paul?
It was a great move by Courtney Terrell to get a run on Dave Judson. I don't know about the wisdom of making the pass there, though. Though, I mean, in Courtney Terrell's mind, it may have been that he didn't think he had the fast enough car. But it's clear that he does. And right now they're kind of hanging at 0.4 behind Yang O. They're going to have to make a little bit more up there. Looks like Tim Doyle up to 4th now. So hopefully he can join the fight and get a little more momentum going here.
And the gap was shrunk by 3/100ths of a second last time by. Courtney Tell is being pushed in many ways by Dave Judson as they work their way down the back straight once again. But Tim Doyle only 4/10ths of a second behind this battle for the 2nd position as they're trying to work on Young O. And I tell you what, Tim Doyle, once he gets up to this straight, needs to hope that they are right up behind Young O, because I tell you what, if he had to take them one at a time and then lose more time, O's going to be gone. Tim Doyle needs to get past these guys quickly, but at the same time needs to hope that they close up to the rear of Young O, and that last lap it wasn't happening. They got back up to 4/10ths of a second between Young O and Courtney Terrell.
That it is, and Judson not able to hang right underneath Terrell. That's what Terrell needs. Judson needs to be right up there to really make that as
Yellow.
yellow.
Oh, this is Porzak looks like.
Yeah, so John Porzak there out of the...
Nefriog involved in well.
Yeah, Giorgio Ponte is rolling all over the place. John Porzak, Nefriog, and disappointment there for Nefriog. Knew how much he wanted to win this race. As they came out of turn number 2, it just looked as though that Porzak took a bit of a tighter line out of the corner, and Nefri just came up a little bit there. Those two both going to be classified as out of the race, and as are also now Giorgio Ponte involved in it as well. And I tell you what, I'm not sure whether Norton got damaged in that, but he literally went right underneath John Porzak. Having a look to see if there's any damage, and a little bit of damage there to the front of the 84 car. What's going to happen next, boys?
Wow.
This is getting interesting. I'll tell you what. Yeah, another restart of his life.
Well,
Courtney Terrell's restart of the life. Yeah.
This time the restart of the life shifts from Dave Judson now to Courtney Terrell. But also in the mix, you said Tim Doyle, he really can't wait one at a time. If that last restart is any indication, Judson's car does not like the restart. So you sort of have to like Tim Doyle's chances of maybe getting up to third down the back straightaway on that first lap.
But it's going to have to happen right away. I mean, Doyle's going to have to basically take Judson by surprise. And I just don't think that Terrell has the speed. I think Doyle really needs to get up into second and pull that train to catch. Oh, I think he's the only car in this group that might have the speed to do it.
Absolutely. I think if Terrell's within, if he, I mean, he's going to have to have the restart of his life. He's going to have to time it perfectly and stay within 2/10. If he's that close, I think he can hang with them. If he falls any further back, he's going to need either a car pushing him or Tim Doyle to go around him and then lead up that train. But yeah.
Doyle's in a horrible spot right now because if he tries to make a pass and it goes into a corner, they're going to lose touch with the leaders. If he doesn't, they're going to lose touch with the leaders. He really has to just make it happen on the straight and get a clean run into the corner, or they're just going to run away from him.
And yeah, another thing, he may, he's going to need to get around him, but if he can take one or two and then get a yellow, then he'll be sitting good, but
No way.
time is running out.
Yeah, because the race could obviously end under the safety car. That could be the issue as well. These guys need to be placed up so they can make the move at any point. The last thing you're going to want is a Paul Tracy 2002. You make the move, caution comes out. Sorry, you're not winning. Youngo, for him though, he's still got all the cards in his favour.
Yeah, Youngo is, and you know, here's a guy who has a lot of experience being where he is. He knows how to make the car wide, and he really doesn't kind of have to. He goes really fast. I mean, he's all he has to do is watch these guys behind, try and make any moves at all, and see you later.
Yep. And do you think anyone in realism though has the chance to actually get past Youngo?
I would say just one driver, Tim Doyle. He's the one that can do it. I think the other drivers can stay in O's draft, but it's one thing to hang, it's another thing to pass. I know that's been said 1,000 times, but I think Tim Doyle is going to be the only driver that's going to be able to do it, and quite frankly, that time is running out. He's going to have to do it on the first lap, or push the car in front and hope that either Terrell or Judson has the speed to catch up, which I don't know if they do.
And how much caution do you throw to the wind here? Of course, the extreme on this is that Takuma Sato passed on the inside of turn number 1, which didn't go to plan. But how much do you give on that final lap to try and get past? Do you give it all? Or do you remember that there is still a car on your outside?
Yeah, I think you got to give it absolutely everything. That trophy is an amazing trophy. You got to go for it. This is the biggest race of the season for the 16th Street Racing League. You got to go. There is no caution to the wind. You have got to absolutely take everything and go for it. Of course, you don't, when you go for it, you're not intending on making any contact. You want to make the pass clean, but at the same time, if there is just a slight hole there, you got to put your car there, you got to go for it.
And as Al Jr. said, when life doesn't matter, money doesn't matter, pain doesn't matter. All that matters is getting to the front and winning. That's all that matters.
Yep. And for Courtney Tell, this is the restart of his life. For Dave Judson, it is the restart of the restart of the restart of the restart of his life. As they're working their way down the back straightaway, lights off on the iRacing.com pace car. Big shout out to Simon Ladak for that word of wisdom. But half lap to go, we're going to have ourselves, 14 laps left to go at the line. Young O leading from Courtney Tell, leading from Dave Judson, from Tim Doyle, from Michael Chin, from Matthew Lambertson, from Tim Holgate, from Brandon Trainay, from Joe Bryant, from Ryan Norton. They are your top 10. Rest of the cars on the lead lap: Brandon Lichtenberg, Randy Freeman, Mark Shute, Sam Monzet, Kerry Bettenhausen, and the last of the cars technically on the lead lap is Nefri Arg. Space car works its way down into turn number 3. Waiting for it, we're going to try and get ourselves a run green to the end. And now we're hoping that we're hoping actually that Courtney Tell gets himself a perfect restart so that he can hang right there with Young O. I said twice, 3 times in this broadcast, he put Young O out front of an IndyCar race at Indianapolis. Very few people can stay with him. That has been proven in these last 2 restarts. Waiting once again for that pace car to come in. You see Dave Judson there all the way to the wall. He's going to try and outdo Courtney Terrell, and it's a bit of a long one now for Young O. Now the green flag comes out. Now these cars working their way back down into turn number 1 once again. Tim Dodd, a bit of a sluggish restart. He needed a little bit better than that. But the top 4 looking as though they've broken away as they come down into turn number 1. Once again, cold ties. Judson squirting a little bit. Looks as though he's going to get a perfect run out of turn number 2 though. He's going to lose all that momentum because he couldn't find a way past. Now he's got a hope that he can try and get down on the inside of Courtney Terrell as they work their way down the back straightaway. He's going to be close. Will he have the chance to work down to the inside? It'll be a late manoeuvre. He looks down to the inside. It was a little bit too late though. Courtney Terrell had already turned into the corner. And now look at this. Hello, Tim Doyle! Oh! As he looks down to the inside, he'll complete the pass. And Dave Judson as he's into the wall at the worst possible opportunity. And now he's going to have to try and survive turn number 1 and 2. But it's game over for Dave Judson.
What a shame.
And with 12 laps to go, it looks like Judson's car is going to maintain a straight line. But if the yellow would have came out, that would have given Doyle another...
Oh, no! 4 cars involved there. Dave Judson gets tagged a little bit there by... And they look... Oh!
Wow.
That was... Yeah.
Unfortunate for Brendan Lichtenberg there. There is nothing he could do there. Absolutely nothing.
It looks as though Judson actually just kind of didn't realise that Freeman was on his inside, and then Judson came down, and they just barely touched. That pushed Dave Judson back up the racetrack, and that was into Brandon Lichtenberg. Caution back out for what will now be the final time here today. And for Tim Doyle, this is everything that he needed, because there's now just only 1 car between himself and Young O.
Truly, he's been picking them off one at a time. Won a restart, but that whole restart game is running out of time. So I guess, let's see, we're on lap 149. We'll have about 8 laps to go. So he's going to have to take care of Terrell in the first lap and hope that there isn't more than a 0.4 of a second gap if he really wants to have a legitimate chance. But, well, you said final lap. This race is going to come down to a last lap pass between O and Doyle, and looking like that could be a reality now.
And looking at that incident that just happened with Judson, of course he had the damage before, and he took a really funky line into the turn. And you could tell he just had a full deflection left. The car just would not turn. He glanced off of somebody on the inside and then just bounced out, and chaos ensued.
Yeah, it's one of those things as well. And the thing is with Johnson, there was no way he could bring his car off the racetrack at that point. I mean, you could try and slot it down the pit exit road coming out into turn number 1, but it really is, almost impossible to get down there, especially with a damaged car. But it just looks... I don't think he saw Randy Freeman coming down on his inside line there.
No, I don't think so. I think he was just trying to get through the turn. He was so much slower than everyone else. There's no way he would have known. And it's just an unfortunate thing because, I mean, the car's damaged and he's just trying to get out of the way. And it's just the worst of all possibilities where you're just going slow enough. You don't know where to go. And that just happens.
And very quickly, we're going to bring in to the Glacier TV booth our Ultra Force pole sitter for this race, Mitch McCracken. Mitch, we said earlier on in the broadcast that you had a chance of winning this race if luck went your way. A couple of times in this race it didn't. You had the pit stop where you overshot a tiny bit. You had the moment where the cars stacked up together and you got yourself some damage. And just from there, your race kind of unraveled.
Yeah, I messed up on a pit stop. Got me behind some guys. I made up some spots really quick, but I guess somebody hit the pit limiter on the steering wheel and it caused the field to bunch up, and it pretty much ruined my car and I couldn't get it to turn from then on.
And until that point, I mean, that first 2-3 stints, I mean, you were the class of the field and you leading the race from the front. In traffic, however, it seems as though that car is pushing just a little bit. How long did it take for you to adjust the balance of that car to get it to work a little better down into turn number 1?
Yeah, until you got to like 16 gallons, you had to lift off the pedal a little bit going into turn 1. But even while I was doing that, I was passing other guys. Everybody gets a little tight on full fuel. It was only after the damage that it was really causing a problem for me, and I couldn't get it to turn anymore.
And unfortunately, another disappointing showing for you in the 16th Street Racing League. You've had a bit of an up and down season, but moving on to next week, you're looking for some hopefully better fortunes, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's Mid-Ohio. I've never even loaded my car onto the track before, so we'll see what happens, I guess.
10-4, and once again, bad luck to Mitch McCracken, who had a great race, but will be classified overall all the way down in the 24th position. And guys, one more time, disappointing there for McCracken.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think he had the car, he had the speed, he just didn't have the luck. And, you know, Indy is that way. It's a fickle beast. And, you know, it will pick and choose who it's going to bite. And, unfortunately, just had McCracken's number today.
Lights out on the iRacing.com pace car. We'll be going green one more time, racing this time by with 8 laps left to go. And for Tim Doyle, he's almost got to have himself a lap-by-lap plan of what he needs to do now.
Yeah, Tim Doyle's, the only thing he's thinking about is putting Courtney Terrell behind him and getting up on Yang O. It's going to be one of these things where, you know, the last couple of restarts, Terrell has not gotten a good start, and O has taken off. So, again, Doyle is kind of at the mercy of Terrell's restart. So, if Terrell can keep on Yang O, then might have a fighting chance. But if O does it again and blasts off to a 0.3 or 0.4 second lead, I don't know.
Yeah. Ryan Norton spun on the back straightaway by the look of it. Ryan Norton spun his car and is now having to work his way back through the field. And this was down in turn number 1. It looks as though he had to swerve to avoid Joe Branch because it looks as though he was going slowly. He's back into line, but Norton there sending a tweet trying to do a Brad Konsalski? Who knows? Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you do not text while driving. Public service announcement brought to you by Glacier TV. Very quickly, I'd like to send out one final big shout out to our sponsors, Ultra Force Simulations, International Light Technologies, and Panther Racing for providing sponsorship for this race and all of the 16th Street Racing League this season. Pace car going to make that trip down towards pit road. 9 laps left to go here at the Brickyard. Oh, going to go early this time. Courtney Terrell looking as though he's going to get himself a good start. Tim Doyle, though, right behind him. And this is exactly what he needs to do now. He could have been a little bit closer to work our way down into turn number 1. He's got to get him in the next 2 laps.
Courtney Terrell, just not enough. Not enough. He had to be a little closer.
No, Doyle's going to have to get him down the back straightaway or by turn 1 at the latest if he wants to have a chance. So expect Doyle to really push the issue here as soon as he gets to Terrell.
And that'll be down into turn number 4 by the look of it. He's closed right up on the back straightaway. Now they're working their way down into turn number 3 and 4. Through turn 3 they come. He's not going to be close enough in turn 4. He needs a perfect run, however, to set himself up for the front straightaway. Indeed, this is going to be the case. Tim Doyle expects him to move to the left-hand side right about... I'd say about now, but he's not. He's staying behind him, and I have no idea why. But Tim Doyle, he looked as though he had the chance to make the pass there. He didn't, however. Now he's... Let's see whether or not he's going to make it down the back straight away. But Tim Doyle, he's lost his opportunity now.
Maybe he thinks Terrell has the car that if he can push him up there, maybe he can do it. Maybe Doyle thinks if he makes a pass, they're just going to lose too much speed. Maybe he's thinking, which I would disagree with the strategy, but we'll see what the gap is at the line this time if they gain anything as they come off the 4.
Perhaps, but they are closing.
Now he's
It
left.
looks like they are closing.
Now
Okay.
he's moved to the left-hand side. Now he's going to complete the pass and move Tim Doyle up into the second position as they work their way into turn number 1. Tim Doyle goes a little bit high.
Whoa!
And
Not
Terrell's
what he
right back
needed.
past. No, this is game over now for Tim
man.
Doyle. Game over.
Well, here comes Trano, who took care of Chin a couple of like lap ago, and he's going to try Doyle.
Yep, he's going to look down to the inside to come down into turn number 3 once again. Brandon Trainer, he's going to get caught up in a bit of a logjam there. They almost touch. Tim Doyle working the outside line, fighting him for dear life. Will have to go high once again in turn number 4. Wasn't quite clear, but now it's going to be Brandon Trainer, a drag race past the start-finish line once again. Trainer on the inside line, Tim Doyle on the outside. We've got ourselves just a handful of laps left to go. Tim Doyle on the outside line once again. His Trainer's having to check up a little bit on the inside. They're still too wide, but whilst this is all going on, they are losing touch with Young O. And Courtney Terrell needed the help, and it's not happening for him right now. And the gap between Young O and Courtney Terrell was 5 tenths of a second as they came past the start-finish line last time by. And that is not what any of those guys needed. They needed to push towards Young O.
They forgot something. What trophy do you get for second? If
Oh,
you
and a crash.
Oh, is that going to do
Carried-
it?
It's
Ryan
going to be a
Norton.
one-lap shootout. It's going to be a one-lap shootout by the look of it.
Wow.
And Ryan Norton into the wall. His race is over. So you can take all of the things that happened early on in this race. He was on the outside there trying to work on Mark's shoot. And it just looked as though the two came together. And Norton was pinching down just a little bit, but shoot coming up a little bit as well. Norton spinning it upside down out of the race. And guys, it's going to come down to a one-lap shootout. But Young O, barring any major upsets, pretty much is going to be the champion.
Unless Yang O spins, I don't think they're going to catch him. Courtney Terrell still in second. It just can't seem to get the restart figured out though. It's just the timing of it. And of course, this is nothing against Courtney Terrell. Yang O, an expert at this. So I mean, it's to best him on a restart is quite the accomplishment. So it remains to be seen, but it's going to happen on the restart.
What Courtney's going to have to do, what he's going to have to do, he's going to have to not time it. He's going to have to go almost before. Oh, if he wants to win this race, he might have to risk jumping it almost to go in sync with Young O, because if he doesn't do that, yeah, it's over. He is going to have to predict the start, not react. He's going to have to go in sequence with.
Very quickly, I'd like to welcome into the Glacier TV booth, Mr. Dave Judson. And Dave, those last couple of restarts were the underdog that everyone was rooting for. However, just looked as though it unraveled as you had to put that car on the outside line.
Yeah, I had a good run. First, I want to thank folks at green.com and Tuffy Auto Service. But, I had a good run. Felt good. Car was good. But I overreacted when Tim got under me. I probably could have chopped him, but I have a lot of respect for him, so I didn't do so. And it kind of Hildebrand it, put it in the outside wall, and the car was damaged. Going through turn 2, didn't expect the car to split me to the left and the right, so I tried to get out of the way of one, and I ended up clipping and wrecking. But I thank the Lord I was able to have an opportunity to race against some of the best guys on iRacing, and it was a good run. I'm glad I was here.
I want to take you back to those couple of restarts where you were in second position. Then, just how hard was it to close up to the rear of Young O there?
He's got to have low downforce or just talent, or obviously a combination of both. But just you got to hit it perfect. It's like qualifying laps, just to even stay with him. So I was really working it.
And of course, disappointing because you had a great run of results leading up to this race. But of course, next time we'll see you in 1 week time at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Looking to a decent showing on the tricky road course.
Yeah, the home track for me, being in Ohio, if you can call it that. Improving on road courses, so we'll put in a good effort and hope for the best, see how it all sorts out.
Dave Judson will be classified eventually in the 17th position and out of the race, unfortunately. Thank you very much for talking to us. And green, white, checkered. We're not NASCAR guys, but you know what we mean by say that. 2-lap shootout by the look of it.
With 2 laps, that's going to, if Trano can push, we saw when Doyle got behind Terrell how fast Terrell was catching. So if they don't fight for second and they both get a good restart, if Trano, Doyle, and Terrell can line up and push, they might be able to get to him. And if you're Trano, you know, you might want Terrell to get up there, because if the two of them go side by side, maybe something could happen. Maybe they'll slow down. Maybe coming off of turn 4, you can take both of them 3 wide. So they really have to work together if either one of them wants a chance at this victory.
And the thing is, for Young O, he's been here so many times before, of course. He's a 2012 Indianapolis 500 champion, the iRacing Indianapolis 500 champion. He's a 2012 ISOWC Indianapolis 500 champion. Right now, Young O could make it 3 big IndyCar Indianapolis victories in the space of 12 months. Really cementing his status as one of the best IndyCar drivers there is going right now.
Absolutely, and there's right now, for anybody to have a chance at him, he either has to make a mistake, which he doesn't, or everybody's going to have to work together and execute an absolutely flawless attack at his lead. But as he said, he's won. I mean, if there's a race here, he's probably going to be the winner. He's just that good. You can't bet against him. Next time we're here, I'm going to learn that lesson, and no matter where he starts, I'm going to pick him. But yeah, it's going to take an absolutely perfect thing to dethrone him this race.
Yeah, you know, if I can channel some Sports Center here, you cannot stop a Young O, you can only hope to contain him. You hit the nail on the head, Aaron. Courtney Terrell has to risk a black flag to get Young O. He has to not only anticipate, but pretty much jump the start. And if it doesn't happen, then it just doesn't seem, I just don't see it happening.
We've been racing for 2 hours and 42 minutes. And it all comes down to this, a 2-lap shootout here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400 on GlacierTV. And this is going to be, for Young O, another restart. For Courtney Tell, Brandon Trano, Tim Dahl, this is a chance to snatch away victory from perhaps one of the most dominant drivers the IndyCar, the sim racing IndyCar scene has seen in a long time. Young O trying to make it yet another top level Indianapolis victory. Pace car pulls in, and you see there, he's holding up now. Now he's going to go. And I tell you what, Courtney Tell gets a good start.
Great restart for Terrell.
There it is.
He's actually right there with him as they work their way down to train number 1. Trano in the 3rd position in that 20 car, sluggish. Tim Dahl in the 11 car, not that good. Right now, Tell is the only guy close enough, but he goes high in turn number 2 and he clips the curve a little bit there. And now it's all down to Young O. He just has 6 corners left to go. And he's going to be the champion once again, working his way down into turn number 3 and 4. Once again, you see the gap between those two drivers, about 5 car lengths as they work their way through turn number 4. This time by the white flag in hand. 1 more lap to go for Young O to claim victory. Courtney Tell in the 2nd position. Here comes Brandon Trano looking down to the inside to try and take 2nd position away. Trano is going to take 2nd spot there from Courtney Tell as they work their way through turn number 1 and 2. I'll tell you what, Trano is on the move right now. He won't be close enough to Young O unless O literally runs out of fuel. but Trano is on fire right now. Look at this, Tim Doyle is in the picture as well. He's not quite close enough, but might try to slot down the inside of Courtney Tell as they work their way through turn number 3 and 4. Indeed he does. However, a little bit of a wall touch there for Courtney Tell. Young-O in the meanwhile, as Tim Doyle there, and Courtney Tell will come together. Young-O is going to win the 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400. Brandon Trano will come home in 2nd position. Michael Chin is classified in the 3rd position. Tim Doyle in 4th. Joe Branch in 5th. Tim Holgate in 6th position. And for Courtney Tell, it started with that wall touch, I think, back in turn number 3. And he just touched the wall a tiny bit there. Then the two were running too wide. And I'll tell you what, Tim Doyle, he caught the curve, and that's what pushed him up into Courtney Terrell.
Tough break for Courtney Terrell. Looked like he was going to get the runner-up spot. To drive 300, well, I guess about 399 miles, and to come up that short from a top 5, man, that's heartbreaking.
Paul?
Unbelievable. What a stop. And you know, you're looking at this, Tim Doyle lost 2 spots on the straightaway. You know, Chin and Branch both took him on the straightaway because of that incident. And Chin got hit. He was actually a part of that and still managed to make it through.
So, to run through then your final race results for the 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400. Young-O taking victory by 31/100ths of a second over Brandon Trano in 2nd. Michael Chin from nowhere comes in 3rd. Tim Doyle 4th. Joe Branch in 5th. Tim Holgate 6th. Mark Schutz in 7th. Randy Freeman in 8th. Sam Bonza in 9th and Kerry Bettenhausen running out your top 10. Then Courtney Tell in 11th. Matthew Lambert in 12th. Andrew King 13th. David Stockrider 14th. Terry Tinson in 15th. Ryan Norton 16th. David Ward 17th. Dave Judson 18th. Brandon Lichtenberg in 19th position. Neff Yag running out your top 20. The rest of the results coming up on your screen momentarily. And before we go any further, driver of the race, Mr. Paul Jenkins, go.
You know what? I was very, very impressed with Courtney Terrell. What a drive from nowhere. I mean, you know, nobody talked about him until the end of the race, and yet he was hanging. You know, if not for the last turn, if not for turn 4, he'd be in the 2nd, or, you know, I mean, he would have been right up there at least, but, well, 3rd, I guess. But, I mean, what a great drive. What a great showing by Courtney. He shows that he's got game, and I was really impressed.
Aaron?
Boy, I'm having a hard time deciding it. Michael Chin finished 3rd, started 26th. Great race. Then you have Brandon Trano, who started up in the outside of the front row, position 3, then had a little bit of damage, went all the way to the back, and now he's our runner-up finish. So, you know, I'm going to give it to Brandon Trano. I really am. He had some adversity and came back through the field to finish 2nd. And if there was more time in that race, maybe he might have been a threat, but good run by Brandon Trano to salvage a 2nd place finish.
You know, I agree with that too. That's, you know, Brandon Trano, if for 5 more laps, I honestly do think it's possible he would have run down Yang.
I would like to go with Michael Peters. Because yes, you take away the fact that he didn't finish the race, but that wasn't his fault. And everything else considered, I mean, he drove his car all the way from the depths of the field. He was making up places left, right, and centre, running it towards the front of the field, eventually coming home in, well, a bad position, but still, I think he was a driver who really showed out what Indy can be. You know, on the day, you can make it happen if you have the passion you believe and you just know the track, you know the car, and you get it all working together, you got a chance. And for Peters, for the first 75% of that race, that happened for him. Very quickly, we'd like to welcome in to the GlacierTV booth our 2nd place finisher in the number 20 Broken Arrow machine, Mr. Brandon Trano. Hello, well done, 2nd place.
Thank you.
And you had yourself an interesting race, shall we say. You've kind of been up and down at one point. You fell back. You had yourself a little bit of wing damage. Managed to rally back and on that last 2-lap restart, you managed to get yourself back up into the second position. Big question first, what would have happened if the race was 4 laps longer?
I don't want to like say that I was gonna catch him, but I definitely would have gave him a run for his money. I know that when I passed Courtney, and I was like, they were telling me that I was the white flag, and I was like, man, if I would have had at least 2 more laps, I would have gave him a run for his money.
And I mean, you've had yourself. It was a very tough race. I mean, first of all, how did you manage to keep that focus despite the fact that you had a couple of bad moments throughout the race? And of course, we talk about the pace car scenario as well at the midpoint. How did you get all of that back together to rally forward when things weren't going your way?
Well, I really have to thank Ryan Norton. He kept me calm. I know he had some troubles at the end of the race, and he started getting aggravated, but he really did keep me calm throughout all those problems. And we talked it out, planned out what I was going to do, and ended up coming home second. So I really got to thank Ryan Norton.
And so the second third of the race, after that all happened, the drive back through the field, the methodicalness of it, how much was that broken up by the fact that, there was that many cautions in that last 30, 40 laps?
I think the cautions ended up helping me. I know that if I didn't have as many cautions, I might have not gotten up there. But then again, I might have had and had a better chance at winning the race. But the cautions did helping me in the long run.
And of course, next week we go back to the road courses, and we go to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Looking forward to it.
Yep, I am definitely looking forward to another strong finish at a road course.
And because of the fact that you come home second, I'm not even going to call you that 3-letter word.
Thank you.
Mr. Brandon Traino comes home in the second position, and from that, we'd like to welcome in our 2012 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400 champion, Young-O. Congratulations, well done.
Thank you, Will. Question?
No, I'm just going to say well done. Off you go. No. Right. It was a tough race. I mean, you didn't lead the entire way, and for the first half of the race, it did seem as though you were just content to stay behind Mitch McCracken. But then that second half, you really did stretch your legs. To start off though with the pit stop, when you and Tim made that pit stop on the second caution, what was the kind of strategy line that you were going for there?
I was down to like 3/4 of the tank. I thought everybody would pit, but nope. So we ended up midfield. We thought we would have some fun, so that's what we did, coming through the field.
And the rest of it, I mean, you managed to get yourself out from. You had a bit of a moment where the kind of field kind of stacked up. I believe it's Tim Doll who hit the limiter, and they're working away through turn number 2. But I mean, that second half the race, it was going well for you. But then that final kind of like 30, 40 laps, it was all those restarts. How much pressure did that put on you to make sure that you didn't miss a gear or miss the entry to turn 1, and you had everything working in the car for you?
There was as much pressure as there was. I was well, there wasn't much pressure. I was almost falling asleep. So that was definitely boring to watch. I would assume on television. I don't know what exactly happened back there with so many cautions. I have to say, Mitch again, just terrible luck. I didn't know what happened. I actually didn't have radio communication for half the race, so I had no communication with my teammates, and all I saw was a bunch of cars crashing behind, and Mitch was involved in it, and that was really. I wish he was there at the end when we would fight it out instead of all those cautions.
And this is your third big Indianapolis win in the space of 1 year, winning the ISOWC Indianapolis 500, the iRacing.com Indianapolis 500, and now this. I mean, where do you go from here? Same thing for 2013. What's your future plans?
I think I don't know if there's gonna be a Premier Series, so I'm probably just gonna run the Indy 500 and maybe focus on other stuff, just maybe the most important events and not a lot more sim racing to go. Definitely gonna want to finish this the 16th Street League on top though, so I'm putting a lot of time and effort into this, but I'm definitely looking forward to maybe taking a break from sim racing at some point.
And final question: have you got a place to put a nice big trophy on a mantelpiece anywhere?
Yeah, my 3 trophies from Premier Series are getting lonely, so it definitely would look nice to have that unique, very beautiful trophy from Scott Manifold to be on there as well. I have to say, thanks so much to Scott and Panther Racing, just the whole sim racing team, as well as the real life team, for making this happen. Just the league, reviving the league, and also this huge event. And I have to say thank you for to Carlos, Courtney, and Tim. They were also always there testing, and we didn't do a lot of testing actually for this event. And Courtney came up with a great idea on the setup. I think it was by accident, but it ended up giving us a lot more speed than expected. Also want to thank Alan Scrimger and Mili Ramirez for giving me a place to qualify when I was in the US.
Cool, and congratulations, you win yourself a brick.
Yeah.
Not just any brick, of course, for those of you who are just tuning in. Where the hell have you been the last 3 hours? But of course, Young O, for being the 2012 16th Street Racing League champion, wins himself a trophy valued at $1,100 featuring a real-life brick from the original Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Beautiful trophy. In fact, we'll chuck it on our Facebook page after the race. Go to facebook.com/GlacierTV. But Young O, congratulations. He is the 2012 16th Street Racing League Indianapolis 400 champion. Well done.
I also want to thank you guys. Yanni is complaining about my speech length, but I want to thank you guys for broadcasting this every single week, and you guys do a great job. I always look forward to seeing the race on replay.
Cheers. And Yanni says thank you. And we'll see you next week at Mid-Ohio.
All right, that's good.
And moving on to Mr. Joseph Branch. Joe, it's been an up and down day for you. You led some laps at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the 16th Street Racing League Indy 400, but kind of strategy didn't go your way, and it was kind of an uphill climb from there.
And that was a blast. I don't even know. I went through so many positions there. I don't even know how I ended up in the top 5, but I'll take it.
And say the 15 car had good speed all day. Take you back to that strategy call that you did make about halfway through the race. What was your mindset when you made it, and how close was it to actually panning out for you?
I needed to just go green for a long time, see where it played out at the end, but obviously I was leading my pit strategy, so if it could have worked out, I felt good about it and it got me up front. And then the caution helped too, because I don't know, the blend line played some tricks. Nobody really knows how it worked, but I don't even know how it worked, but we still had a long race to go, so.
And when you put it all together, I mean, the top 5 finish must be amazing for you, but do you think that perhaps you could have got a little bit more?
I think I got about as much out of it as I could have. I mean, the car was awesome. Panther Racing, National Guard car was awesome, thanks to a lot of hours spent by Chris Cahill and Tim Holgate, so I owe them a big thank you. I ran a lot of laps this last month myself, so I'm thrilled with the top 5.
And this is a question I always wonder. You know, you come out of essentially 3 weeks of preparation for a race, and then next week you're back to the road courses, back to Mid-Ohio in a complete different change of circumstances. A, how do you prepare? And B, you're looking forward to it.
Oh, you know I love Mid-Ohio, so yeah, I'll be looking forward to it.
That is Joe Branch, who came home in the 5th position in his National Guard car. So a very big well done to you, Joe Branch. Very quickly, got a little bit of time left to talk to Tim Holgate very quickly. He came home in the 6th position in this race. And Tim, a very well done for you. And it looks as though at one point you almost had enough fuel to charge your way to the end of the race in first.
Well, yeah, that was the idea, but the reason we took that gamble was the damage we got, and the car just wasn't the same ever since that the wreck that took out Chris. So we figured we'd try something different, see if it would shake out right, and we actually ended up with too much fuel at the end. So, but it was a hell of an exciting race. I want to thank everybody who put it on. So I mean, I'm amped up from that. That was an absolute blast.
And I mean, you've had a bit of an up and down race as well. I mean, battling for positions, having some damage, falling back through the field, leading, having to work your way back through the field as drivers were overtaking you. Add on to the fact that the race took over 2.5 hours. I mean, how do you physically and mentally prepare for a race of such length on a track which is so unforgiving?
Oh, a lot of practice. You just kind of you end up practicing. You run sim racing for so long, and then it gets you get used to it. I was thinking to myself about 30 laps in, how cool this would be to do it in real life, and then I realized then you'd be facing 4 Gs in every corner. So I have the utmost respect for the real drivers who do this, because that would just be crazy requirement of stamina.
And very quickly, next week we go from Indy, we go back to the road courses, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. You've been good on both road and ovals this year. When you put that into the championship battle, you're looking for a good showing there, I'm guessing.
Well, Mid-Ohio is my home track, being just about 60 miles from it, so I'm hoping to have a good showing there. I like to run the road courses just as much as I like the ovals, so we'll see to have a good showing there.
That is Tim Holgate, who came home in the 6th position. 2 drivers, unfortunately, who didn't have a good day are Mr. Nefriag and Mr. Chris Cahill. Seeing as your teammates, I'm going to allow you to talk at the same time. Chris, your race ended up a little bit earlier than you expected, scored 54 laps down. And Nefri, you were involved in an incident in the last quarter of the race. Both of you must be hugely disappointed.
Well, I think first and foremost, to be honest with you guys, I'm going to tell you, firstly, thanks to Chris Cahill and Tim Holgate for building a heck of a setup we had at this race. And the biggest thing for me is to apologize to John. I mean, I got squirrely there when Lambertson squeezed me a little bit into one. And, man, I was trying to catch a thing all the way through the south end and got into John. I feel terrible about that. But it really comes down to this National Guard Panther racing team. Like I said, I wouldn't even want to know how much time Chris Cahill and Tim Holgate spent on that setup we were running today. And like I said, man, heck of a lot of fun turning laps out here.
And Chris, your race ended very early as well. All the work that you put in, it must be slightly disappointing to have it end before you had the chance to actually go for glory.
Yeah, absolutely, Will. That's kind of the name of the game. Had a bit of bad luck there with Tim having an electronics issue in front of us, and just got taken out. Unfortunately, that's how it goes in sim racing. It's you have some really good days and you have some really bad days on some of the most important races. It's just unfortunate.
And Chris, being an Indiana resident, living in Indiana, growing up around there, racing here, I mean, how special is it to be taking part in a big race like this?
Well, this is your home track, living an hour away. This is the most important track in IndyCar, and it's your home track, so this is the only one that really counts.
And for both of you guys, I mean, picking up the pieces, moving on to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in 1 week's time, to do it all over again, just on a road course, which is very tricky and technical. I'm guessing you're both looking for good showings, especially when you consider the fact that you've still got a championship positions to fight for.
Yeah, I'll tell you. That's the thing. I've had a pretty epic streak of DNFs here, to be honest with you. But like I said, the biggest thing is, having a heck of a lot of fun out here running these races. And I think you guys are doing a great job broadcasting them. And Mid-Ohio is a tough place. And when you look at it, I mean, heck, there's a lot of schedule left. And when you look at all of us, Chris and Tim and everybody on this, Joe Branch had a heck of a run today.
to get to the front. And we just got a heck of a squad here. And like I said, there's a lot of the 16th Street season left. And like I said, I can't wait to get over there north of Columbus, Ohio, and start turning some laps at Mid Ohio.
And bad luck for both of you guys. We'll see you both in 1 week's time at the Mid Ohio Sports Car Course. And unfortunately, that is now all we have time for. Aaron, Paul, very quickly, final thoughts.
I think, not much of a surprise with Young O winning, but boy, a lot of people had great drives. Brandon Treno's run to second was a pretty good showing after mid-race troubles. Unfortunate of that little electrical issue catching up some drivers that might have been able to contend with for the win, but all in all, a very, very thrilling race. The race just wasn't handed to Young O. They did have that pit stop error early, or miscalculation rather, with strategy, so they had to work their way back up. It wasn't a gimme. He did earn the victory, and all the power to him for that. Great race, and can't wait to go to Mid Ohio next week.
Pauline?
Yeah, I'm not terribly surprised with the result, but it was a very good race. It certainly wasn't a foregone conclusion from the start, and I think we had some really good racing, and we've seen some really good displays of racing talent. You know, Brendan taking a damaged, wounded car to second really was an outstanding drive. Of course, Michael Chin started from 26th, Joe Branch from 35th to finish 3rd and 5th respectively. Very spirited drives here, but congratulations to O. There's really the only thing they can stop. I said it before. The only thing that can stop him is him, and we'll look forward to the rest of the season, see where this all goes.
And so that is unfortunately now all we have time for. Next week, the 16th Street Racing League returns with the International Light Technologies Road Course Championship at the Mid Ohio Sports Car Course. We'd like to take a very final opportunity to say thank you to our sponsors for this race. First of all, Ultra 4 Simulations. Secondly, Panther Racing. And then finally, also International Light Technologies, the official sponsor of the International Light Technologies Road Course Championships. We'll be back in 1 week's time. In the meanwhile, someone bring me a coffee. See you all later. Bye-bye.